can keep truckers going? Progressive truck insurance with primary liability limits up to $2 million. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Covered subject to terms and limits.
Red Eye Radio and our sponsors are devoted to trucking safety. That's why we are proud to bring you the Red Eye Radio Million Mile Club. We've been saluting drivers who have surpassed the million-mile mark with preventable, accident-free driving. By reaching this milestone, you can be a part of an elite club of drivers who share remarkable safety records and demonstrate superior driving skills. If you or someone you know is a truck driver with 1 million miles or more of driving under your belt without a preventable accident, register online at redeyeradioshow.com. That's redeyeradioshow.com. The Red Eye Radio Million Mile Club would not be possible without the generous support of the fine folks from Petro Stopping Centers, Howe's Lubricator, Motel 6, the St. Christopher Fund, and Cat Scale. We applaud the individual truckers and fleets who drive with care and keep our highways safe. The Red Eye Radio Million Mile Club, devoted to trucking safety. Register online at redeyeradioshow.com.
WWTN, Hendersonville, Nashville.
From the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studio, Super Talk 99.7.
WTN. Good morning. It is 5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A woman was shot while lying in her bed in East Nashville overnight. The victim of a drive-by shooting. This happened after 11 p.m. on True Lane Place, where police had to break through a window to rescue the woman. Dozens of shots have been fired outside of her home. That woman has been taken to a hospital. A woman who got kicked out of a bar on Saturday night on Broadway is under arrest. Victoria Gutierrez reportedly called 911 almost 20 times after she got the boot, telling dispatchers she had been raped, stabbed, and assaulted at Broadway Brewhouse. Well, police were able to determine that her story was a lie. She was charged with non-emergency calls to 911. We are learning that Equinox is set to open its first Tennessee location in Nashville. The luxury gym picked Nashville's Paseo South Gulch development with about 34,000 square feet on 3 floors. Equinox has locations across the globe, including in L.A., New York, and in Miami. Well, there are more protests expected on the campus of Columbia University in New York today over detention of a student who calls himself an activist. Mahmoud Khalil is a green card holder, and now he's facing deportation.
This is all happening because federal immigration officials arrested a Palestinian activist who played a role in Columbia University's pro-Palestinian protests last year. Khalil's attorney says the Columbia University graduate was detained while returning to his apartment and is being held at an ICE detention center. Now, his attorney says ICE agents said they plan to revoke his student visa
and send him back home. ABC's Reagan Medji there. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Trading will resume after a week of wild swings by the major indexes over concerns about the U.S. economy. Friday, the indexes posted solid gains after another positive monthly jobs report from the Labor Department for February. What could affect stock prices this week include a report on job openings Tuesday. On Wednesday and Thursday, we get snapshots about inflation at the wholesale level and also the Consumer Price Index. Thursday is the weekly Labor Department data on first-time applications for unemployment insurance. And we get a report on consumer sentiment Friday. A company owned by President Trump sued Capital One on Friday, claiming the bank unjustifiably terminated over 300 of the Trump organization's accounts without cause in 2021, shortly after the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The Trump suit claims the decision was a political attack on free speech and free enterprise. Capital One has not and does not close customer accounts for political reasons, says the company in a statement. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
And stock futures this morning, deeply red. We've got Dow futures minus 311 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
If you want to see the impact that Men of Valor is making firsthand, join us for the Men of Valor Annual Breakfast, March 26th in Nashville at the Music City Center and April 17th in Knoxville at the Knoxville Convention Center. Hear powerful stories of transformation and redemption as we celebrate second chances. Learn how Men of Valor is helping reconcile men to God, their families, and society. Your support helps us provide hope and a fresh start. Sign up today at movministry.com. That's movministry.com. The Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center continues to grow. Dr. Poss is now joined by Dr. Brian McLaughlin, coming with the same exceptional credentials as Dr. Poss to help serve Middle Tennessee better. For those who cannot wear a CPAP machine and have mild to moderate sleep apnea, there is an FDA-approved oral device that gently supports your jaw to help you be able to breathe better, snore less without any hose or mask. And as fall approaches, more people have met their insurance deductibles, so it's time to maximize your insurance. Don't wait. Start treating your sleep apnea today. Your snoring can stop, and it can happen before the calendar runs out. They're in network at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center with Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and Medicare. They're also a preferred provider for TRICARE for the military. 2 locations to serve you for your convenience, Brentwood and Murfreesboro. Go see Dr. Poss or Dr. McLaughlin today. Start with a visit to drposs.com. That's drposs.com.
Winning just got closer at the Mint Gaming Hall. Win up to $250,000 this month in the Tax Buster promotion. Be chosen in the Friday and Saturday drawings and play your way to up to a $250,000 prize. Take a free swipe on Sundays through Thursdays to win up to $500 free play. Play Tax Buster at both Kentucky Downs and Bowling Green. Check out themintgaming.com. Problem gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. 855-299-SOLD.
From the United Structural Systems WTN Traffic Center.
Got an accident this morning. It's on 65, the southbound side off-ramp to westbound Old Hickory Boulevard. There's a crash, and the off-ramp there partially blocked off. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thompson Machinery, your local cat dealer.
Get the next generation Cat 255 and 265 compact track loaders at Thompson Machinery with financing options and monthly payments as low as $9.99. Give your business more power and performance. Call 888-720-1308 for your quote. Thompson Machinery, your local cat dealer.
From the Beacon Capital Management Weather Center.
Big warm-up on the way. I'm WSMV4 First Alert meteorologist Lisa Spencer. Partly cloudy through morning with our low in the upper 30s. Sunshine and 68 for the afternoon high. Even warmer on Tuesday in the mid-70s.
Information fueled.
Opinion driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into a Monday. Feels earlier than usual, right? Monday, March 10th of 2025. Hope you are doing well. I'm wondering if Twitter has been attacked. You know, Twitter is down. I don't know if you know that, if you folks are on Twitter. Twitter is down. Do you know what I'm wondering, Joan? I'm wondering if the same people that are going after Elon Musk and Tesla, I wonder if they're going after Twitter as well. It wouldn't surprise me in the least, but Twitter is down, so I'm on Twitter watch. And so if anybody notices that Twitter's back up, please let me know, because I've got a lot of content on Twitter that I want to play for you this morning.
Look at that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's okay, though. Wouldn't surprise me, though, if all these people that have been going after Elon Musk, if they have now targeted Twitter. So we'll keep you updated on Twitter, and there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. Of course, we are now, on government shutdown watch. We'll get into that as well. I really liked President Trump's interview with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend. I don't know if you folks saw this, but he did talk a lot about tariffs. And remember what he wants to do, because we are, of course, not only are we on Twitter watch, we are on tariff watch as well. But remember what he wants to do. He wants to tariff Canada, tariff Mexico, 25%. He put a pause on those last week, and he talked about, number one, why the pause, but number two, why is it that he's doing this in the first place?
Why did you roll back or put a pause into some of the tariffs until April 2nd?
Because I wanted to help Mexico and Canada to a certain extent. We're a big, big country, and they do a lot of their business with us, whereas in our case, it's much less significant. We do very little with Canada by comparison. And I wanted to help the American car makers until April 2nd. April 2nd, it becomes all reciprocal. What they charge us, we charge them.
So basically, the president's saying that everything covered under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement that will be fine. No tariffs that will be implemented on those products until April 2nd. Apparently what he says is that he had a great discussion with the leader of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, stating this. After speaking with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico, President Trump says, I have agreed that Mexico will not be required to pay tariffs on anything that falls under the USMCA agreement. Trump writing, referring to the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, he characterized the move as an accommodation for the Mexican leader. He says, our relationship has been a very good one. We are working hard together on the border, both in terms of stopping illegal aliens from entering the United States and likewise stopping fentanyl. Thank you to President Sheinbaum for your hard work and cooperation, Mr. Trump added. So coming from Mexico, we imported $45 billion worth of vegetables and fruit and beer and all kinds of other stuff, again, coming from Mexico. And basically all of those tariffs right now off the table. About 50% of our exports, imports from Mexico are covered under that USMCA. Now, Canada's not so lucky. Last year, only 38% of imports from Canada were covered by the USMCA. Canadian energy is not included, which means that there will be tariffed at 10%, and some say that could increase gas prices as well. So the bottom line on tariffs, and we've been talking about this ad nauseum, is that there's a lot of people that are going to say that prices are going to increase. We'll have to see ultimately what happens. But part of what is impacting businesses and the markets right now is the on-again, off-again dialogues regarding these tariffs. And so Maria Bartiromo said, okay, so when can we have some clarity? When will we know exactly what's going on? Because Trump, he keeps threatening it, then he keeps pausing. So ultimately, people want to know what's going on. Here's what he said.
Can you give us a sense of whether or not we are going to get clarity for the business community?
Well, I think so. But, the tariffs could go up as time goes by, and they may go up. And, I don't know if it's predictability. I think
so that's not clarity.
No, I think that they say that. It sounds good to say. But for years, the globalists, the big globalists, have been ripping off the United States. They've been taking money away from the United States. And all we're doing is getting some of it back. And we're going to treat our country fairly. We're not going to let people take advantage of us anymore.
Now, remember, and we've done not only our own poll, but some polling has shown that the American people, they get what the president is trying to do. They get that Donald Trump is trying to just basically change the way that our economy works. And that's part of why he is trying to implement these tariffs. But remember, there's some people that are saying that the president might be losing his nerve on these tariffs because the markets, let's be honest, the markets have been reacting to all this. Every time there is tariff talk and the deadlines come, then the markets go down and then those tariffs are paused and the markets go back up. It's been all over the place. And so there are some people that are saying that Trump is losing his nerve when it comes to these tariffs. Now, I don't believe so. I think that this is still part of a negotiation process. But with all of these predictions that inflation will go up with all of these tariffs, that is indeed, of course, obviously freaking people out. And so part of what's going on is the instability of all of this, because the markets hate instability. They really do. The markets like to know, okay, what exactly is going on? Are we going to be dealing with tariffs or not? And so the instability of all of this, it is having its impact.
Can you give us a sense of whether or not we are going to get clarity for the business community?
Well, I think so. But, the tariffs could go up as time goes by, and they may go up. And, I don't know if it's predictability. I think
so that's not clarity.
No, I think that they say that. It sounds good to say. But for years, the globalists, the big globalists, have been ripping off the United States. They've been taking money away from the United States. And all we're doing is getting some of it back. And we're going to treat our country fairly.
Yeah, so we'll have to obviously see what happens. But one of the things to remember, Trump also gave a 1-month pause for tariffs from automakers. So the automakers, they get a 1-month pause on these tariffs as well. So in April, we'll be revisiting all of this again. Remember, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told CNBC over the weekend, and you just heard Trump say it as well, that this is all about fairness. This is all about the fact that our exports going into other countries, they are tariffed at a pretty high rate, depending on what country we're talking about. And so Trump is saying, listen, if you're going to tariff us, then we're going to tariff you. And that's the bottom line. And the American people, I think that they see the inherent unfairness when it comes to the tariffs. If another nation is going to tariff us 25% and we don't have any tariffs, or we have a really low tariff on their products, well, then that doesn't really seem fair now, does it? And this is what Scott Bessent has to say about all that.
And what we are trying to do is make free trade fair trade, because the trading systems have become incredibly imbalanced. You see it with these gigantic trade deficits that we run. You see it with the big surpluses that other countries are accumulating. So we're looking at tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers, currency manipulation, government subsidies, and in the EU, some of these gigantic fines that they're putting on our tech companies just because they see a big pool of capital. And we're going to push back on those. And at the end of the day, President Trump's been saying tariff is his favorite word. I think reciprocal may be his second favorite word.
Yep. And so bottom line, and that is certainly true. Europe, they tariff our agricultural goods by up to 20%, fruits by 12%, industrial products are up around 4%, some tech components are around 7% as far as tariffs go. Cars made in America, exported into Europe, those are at a 10% tariff. So the bottom line is that Trump is either going to be imposing these tariffs at 25%, therefore Canadian imports into our country, Mexico as well come April 2nd, or they'll eventually be reciprocal. It just depends on what product and what country we're talking about. Tariffs across the board. We have no idea ultimately where this whole thing is going to land. But if we're charged at 7%, then they'll be charged the same. It just depends on what country and what product we're talking about. But what impact these tariffs are going to have on the economy really is anybody's guess. Bigger picture coming up. It is 5:16. Time to check the roads on WTN.
The major roadways look pretty good so far this morning. Just want to keep in mind that there is still construction this morning on I-40 between International Airport, exit 216A and B, through Donaldson Pike 216C, and that's going to be out there for the next at least year and a half. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The great news is, Joan, is that in the 5 o'clock hour for traffic, you have something to say for the next year and a half.
Thank goodness, because nothing's ever happening. Not that I want there to be problems, but
no, we don't want there
to
be problems.
Yeah.
Yes, trust me. I used to be a traffic reporter. I totally and completely understand. 5:17 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We did the Daily Dan poll. I think it was a day last week or the week before, talking about all of this tariff talk. And if I remember right, and KGB, you might have to back me up on this, but when we did the tariff polling, where we asked people, okay, so will you accept higher prices with Donald Trump implementing these tariffs on all of these goods coming into our country? Will you accept the higher prices? And I think by and large, the majority of people that listen to, this radio show and this radio station said, we get what the president's trying to do, short-term pain for long-term gain. He really is just trying to change the dynamic of the economy and how we deal with and work with the world economy. And most people accepted the fact that we might see some higher prices for a while.
Yeah, it was like 75% of people agreed with that statement.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. Price is going to go up, probably. People on the left and in some places like the Wall Street Journal, for example, making really dire predictions on these tariffs. I don't know what's going to happen. Wall Street Journal doesn't know what's going to happen. I believe that prices will go up, but we'll also have more manufacturing jobs. We'll have more money coming in via those tariffs. We'll have more investment in America. We're already seeing that with Apple and the chip manufacturing companies out of Taiwan. They're all starting to manufacture here to avoid those tariffs. We're saving all of this money with Doge. And yes, the Trump tax cuts, I believe that they're going to be extended. So we'll have to see what happens with the tariffs and their impact. The bottom line is we don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen. But Trump, here's the deal. He's confident that this is going to be fine. He's confident that overall, when you look at where we're going to be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, these tariffs ultimately will, as he says, make our country rich because of, number one, the tariffs that we'll have coming in, and number two, all of those manufacturing jobs that will end up coming back into our country. And again, we're already seeing progress on that note. The Wall Street Journal and some of these other places, they've really had these dire predictions because even U.S. automakers have parts that are imported from other countries, which means if those parts are made, I don't know, Mexico or China, but U.S. automakers have to buy them from these other countries, then that means that there will be tariffs on those products, and that means that the automobiles will have higher prices if the automakers have to buy tariffs on these parts. The reality, though, is that nobody really knows what's going to happen. That truly is the reality. Many of these same outlets said that our economy would crater when Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016. You folks remember that? You folks remember when a lot of these various outlets that are saying right now, oh, Donald Trump's tariffs, we're all going to be selling pencils on the street corner. Never happened when they made these same dire predictions in 2016. So we'll have to see what happens this time around. Ultimately, I believe the president does know what he's doing. I do believe it'll be short-term pain for some long-term gain. It is 5:20 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones is here for the news at 5:30. Hey, Joan.
Yeah, Doge does have access to Social Security records, and they're being looked at right now. We'll tell you what's happening there. Also, Nashville police have announced the death of one of their own officers. Those stories and more coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Chris Hand talks about the latest news out of Washington and how it affects you in Murfreesboro and the rest of Middle Tennessee. The Chris Hand Show.
This morning from 9 to noon.
And streaming on the Super Talk 99.7 WTN app.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing, must-visit shops. And how healthcare offices become the data managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities.
Now through May 4th, new customers can get started with 300 megabit internet and Security Edge for $69 a month for 24 months. And ask how to get free installation on qualifying bundles. Plus, find out how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Call today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Requires enrollment in paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra. After 24 months, regular rates apply.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis. Your home is your sanctuary. Take the first step to peace of mind with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from the #1 Generac generator dealer, Generator Supercenter. Online at GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance. But
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness
products? You save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide.
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members nutrition can't change your life.
GoodRx is not
but we
insurance
can
that
change
can
the
be
way
used
you
instead of
live.
insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Men of Valor knows what works when it comes to reducing crime. Transformation, not just rehabilitation. Their faith-based program equips men leaving prison to become responsible fathers, employees, and citizens. But they need your help. Call your legislators on March 12th and tell them to support Men of Valor, because when these men succeed, Tennessee communities are safer. It's Men of Valor. To find out more, go to movministry.com. Once again, movministry.com.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose. And millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Tired of sticker shock when you visit the doctor? Grace Point Healthcare is veteran-owned and provides low-cost, prompt, personalized care for your entire family. Call 599-6868 to be seen the same day or next day. Grace Point Healthcare, delivering modern medicine the old-fashioned way.
Taxes will likely be your biggest expense in retirement. Learn how you can dramatically reduce your taxes with a free retirement tax analysis from Beacon Capital Management. Call 615-488-9303.
525, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. By the way, a couple of housekeeping things. The Super Text line is up and running, and I'm reading your Super Text now. Thank you very much. 615-737-9986. If you watch us on YouTube, watch us on Facebook, you can see the radio show. I think all of us, I can speak for me, feels a little weird because of the less sleep that we got. I don't know. Is that impacting you, Joan?
Yeah, it is.
We all, you know,
little
daylight,
mental fog.
Little mental fog,
right?
So I'm having a bit of a hard time, you know, kicking the brain into gear. So, you know, I'll get there though.
Well, we're all counting on you, so I hope.
Well, you guys better find something else to count on. By the way, but it's all well and good. The Daily Dan poll, somebody actually, interestingly enough, and I'm not sure why they did it, but on the Super Text line said, how do you take the Daily Dan poll? I don't understand why somebody would ask that, but okay. Go to YouTube and watch the radio show, and then you too can take the Daily Dan poll. My audio up, KGB? So I actually really like, Joan, today's Daily Dan poll.
Okay.
Some days I like them, some days I don't. The ones that I don't are where the answer is obvious and everybody always, you know, does Jasmine Crockett suck? You know, and 100 people are going to say yes, right? This one, though, is interesting. Tennessee is considering raising the interest rate cap on payday loans. Now, if you don't know what that is or what that means, you know how you have these payday loans, right? So if you're $1,000 short and payday is in like a week and a half, then you can go to one of these payday loan places and you can borrow $1,000, but they charge you really high interest rate. And then what they do is they also tack on a bunch of fees. In other words, it's really expensive, and people say that it is predatory lending. I believe that it is predatory lending. So state lawmakers are now in some disagreement because they're voting right now. This is going to the state legislature, and they're voting as to whether or not to raise the interest rate cap right now. And it gets a little weedy, but by and large, basically the cap right now, they say, is 30%. And state lawmakers, some want to raise it up to 36%. Now, you tack on a bunch of fees on that, so you're borrowing $1,000, and then you're going to have to pay $360 in interest, not to mention all those fees. And a lot of people are saying this is as they say, predatory.
Bill that would raise the interest rate ceiling. Lenders across the state can charge customers like you. Right now, the cap is set at 30%. The bill, though, being considered would increase that number to 36%. Critics say payday loans like this prey on low-income earners with bad credit. But supporters, which include House Majority Leader William Lamberth, say these loans are often a lifeline for people going through tough times. And Lamberth says the companies that offer these loans have to make a profit.
For those entities to exist, sometimes we have to continue to increase those rates to keep up with inflation, to keep up with just the business demands that are out there. But the trick is that even at a higher interest rate, at least it's available for folks that do not have good credit.
Now, Representative Lamberth is one of the co-sponsors of the bill. It also has the support of leadership in the state Senate.
So there you go. The Tennessean says the bill would allow industrial loan and thrift lenders to increase their maximum interest rate from 24 to 36% on personal loans over $5,000 with an increased cap of 36% interest rates on loans less than $5,000. So that is the Daily Dan poll. How did we exactly word it, KGB, if you could, and what are people saying so far?
So obviously, Tennessee is considering allowing payday loan companies to increase the interest rate on their loans, and one of the two answers, or you can pull it in, is that's fine, these are high risk, and no, this is legalized loan sharking. And right now, 72% say no, this is legalized loan sharking.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of family members and friends who are really conservative, and I asked all of them what they thought about this, and all of them said this is legalized loan sharking. This is a bad move. The Republican Party should not do this in the state of Tennessee. So that is the Daily Dan poll. Find us on YouTube. Go in and search Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and there we are. Sleep in our eyes. Toothpicks, keeping our eyes open. We lost an hour of sleep. Got a lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled, opinion driven. Super Talk 99.7. WTN.
Good morning, 5:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Well, the Department of Government Efficiency is now going through Social Security records, including names, birth dates, and earnings, all part of an anti-fraud effort by the Trump administration. ABC's Ann Flaherty covers health care.
This acting Social Security administrator says, we know that these Doge kids, his words, not mine, that they're going to make mistakes, but that we have to let them see what's inside because there probably is fraud and they can get at it. But there are inspectors general that work inside of Social Security, and that's all they do is try to look for fraud.
Well, it's not clear then why those inspectors general didn't catch the payments made to people more than 150 years old that President Trump and Elon Musk have repeatedly talked about. In Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a small plane crashed into the parking lot of a retirement home shortly after takeoff yesterday afternoon. Now, nobody was on the ground that was injured. 12 cars, however, did catch fire.
5 passengers were on board. All 5 passengers were transported by local EMS agencies to local hospitals for treatment.
That's Manheim Township Fire Chief Scott Little. The pilot had reported an open door on the plane, and he did request to return to the airport before the crash. So far, though, no official cause of the crash. TBI has added a Gallatin man to their most wanted list. Little Page Drake III is his name, and he should be considered armed and dangerous.
He's wanted in the death of a woman that was shot and killed inside of a Gallatin home Thursday morning. Police are telling us this was a domestic situation. There is now a $2,500 reward on the table for information leading to an arrest.
That's Channel 4's Alexandria Adams. And Nashville police have lost one of their own. Precinct Commander Anthony McLean has died after having a heart attack at his desk last month. McLean had been on the force for 27 years. He was 53 years old. He died of complications related to that heart attack. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just one dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Something exciting is on the horizon for those 55 and better. You won't want to miss this. Del Webb Barton Village is putting the final touches on 6 model homes at Nashville's newest 55-plus resort-style living community. With thoughtfully crafted single-story designs and world-class amenities, every day will feel like a vacation. Come check out their grand opening April 5th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with live music, food, and fun. Visit delwebb.com/Nashville to learn more. At least one resident of household must be 55 years of age or older, and additional restrictions apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just one dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
From the United Structural Systems WTN Traffic Center.
Well, things are looking good this morning on 24, making your way into Nashville. Also 40, no problems there, and 65 looking good so far. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or ConsumerCellular.com today. Real people paid to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
This report is sponsored by Cordell & Cordell.
Cordell & Cordell. Divorce and Family Law. 866-323-7529. 222 2nd Avenue South, 17th floor, Nashville, Tennessee, 37201. CordellCordell.com.
This report brought to you by Efficient HVAC.
This Saturday at 9, tune into the Efficient Heating and Cooling Hour with Jeff Eddy. It's your home. Keep it comfortable through the changing of the seasons. Questions about heating, cooling, air quality, and more with Jeff Eddy during the Efficient Heating and Cooling Hour. Saturdays at 9 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sponsored by Efficient HVAC.
537, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome to our first spring forward broadcast. Joan, you doing all right?
Yeah, pretty much.
KGB is just telling me that he is a complete and utter train wreck.
Oh.
So
why is that,
that's
KGB?
that's a little extreme.
Well, the great thing is he didn't really have to tell me. I just kind of already could tell. Just to be honest.
Well, I went to bed around like 5:30 or 6 o'clock. The sun's still out, right? So I go to bed and I'm like, I thought I slept for a while. So I wake up kind of dazed. It's dark out, and I look at my phone. It says 7:45, like 8 o'clock. I'm like, oh, am I late for work? Did I miss my alarm or something? And I freaked out. Then I was like, oh wait, it's still Sunday.
I woke up. I went to bed at like 5, and I woke up at about 10. And I've been up since 10 o'clock.
Oh, no.
Yeah, my sleep cycle, because my daughter and my grandson, they're coming into town today.
Yeah. My
Sleep cycle is going to be so shanked this week. So,
gosh, that's given us something to look forward to.
Listen, so it's been a rough morning so far. So, and just waking up, trying to take a nap at 2:30 in the morning, couldn't do that. So here I am. It's all going to be just fine.
Sure it is.
But I wish they would figure this stuff out, man.
Just keep it like this, to be honest.
Yeah, just whatever. Just quit changing it. But we've talked about that ad nauseum. Hey, you want to hear something funny?
Sure.
So we were talking about Hakeem Jeffries on Friday with Chris Hand, and of course we're just kind of making fun of him. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I find funny is there's audio floating around this morning where he actually says, and I've got the audio, he says, "Oh, no, you know what? We've got Republicans on the run." That's what he said, Hakeem Jeffries. Listen to the lunacy of where the Democrats are right now.
Donald Trump and for American families. Take it away, leader.
Well, thank you so much. We have the Republicans on the run on 3 core issues. They are on the run in terms of the economy.
Hey, Chris was right. He speaks in chunks.
Yeah.
When Chris said that, I thought he does.
Yep.
He speaks in chunks.
In fact, Donald Trump and Republicans are crashing the economy in real time. Donald Trump gave one of the most divisive speeches by a president in American history.
Wow. Did you? So 2 things. In the first 10 seconds, he is saying that he's saying that Trump is crashing the economy in real time, and Republicans are crashing the economy in real time. I'll get into this here in a little bit later, but right now the Democrats are the ones that are threatening a government shutdown. That's number one. Well, I'm going to have to see how that whole thing plays out. But also when he says that, you were silent over Joe Biden for 4 years. So now you're sitting here talking about Trump and the Republicans crashing the economy. Your opinion means nothing to no one. That's number one. Number 2, I don't believe that Donald Trump's speech was divisive in any way, shape, or form. What was divisive was your congressperson, Al Green, standing up and screaming at the president and pointing his cane at him. These Democrats, they are so clueless and they're so just grasping for straws. And I think the more that they speak, the more ridiculous they sound.
100 minutes. And he barely spent any time on the economy. Why? Because it's collapsing on his watch. They made promises with respect to lowering costs. Costs aren't going down. They're going up. Inflation is going up. You know what's coming down? Donald Trump's poll numbers. Because he is mismanaging the economy.
Well, are we 6 weeks in, Joan? 6, 7 weeks in?
And
I don't think the economy's crashing, is it?
I don't think
Doesn't
so.
seem like it. I mean, there's
And-
some prices that are going up, but I mean, when he walks in and the economy is such a train wreck.
Right. So where was Hakeem Jeffries when the train wreck was occurring? Hello?
Nowhere. He you know what? He was hand in hand with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and whoever was running the government at the time. By the way, enough of his stupidity. Have you heard about the auto pen controversy? Do you know what's going on with that?
The auto pen? No.
So do we all know what an auto pen is? Just real quick. Do we know what an auto pen is?
Why don't you explain it?
An auto pen is basically when you sign something and it's on a computer.
Yeah.
That's auto pen.
Okay.
So there is a story out there today where Biden's auto pen signature appears on most, if not all, official documents during the Biden presidency. Nobody knows who was signing these documents. Almost every document that Biden signed was auto pen. And so now people are saying, who the hell was signing this stuff? The only thing that Joe Biden actually signed, they say, was where he decided that he was not going to continue to run for president. and he stepped aside. That's the only thing that they say that he wrote. They say the majority of official documents signed by President Joe Biden allegedly used the same auto pen signature, reinvigorating concerns over the former president's mental acuity and if he actually ordered the signature of relevant legal documents. A report published by the arm at the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation did this investigation. They say whoever controlled the auto pen controlled the presidency. The Oversight Project, which is an initiative within the Conservative Heritage Foundation, their investigation into this whole thing has, number one, people are calling for more transparency, but number two, people are shocked. I'm not shocked. Are you shocked, Joan?
Not even a little bit.
No.
Seriously.
This is further proof.
Does that then nullify the things that he's signed? I mean, what does it mean for us?
You know, I don't think it means anything because Trump has come back and he's nullified anything anyway. I mean, a lot of the things that Biden did via executive order, Trump has already turned over via executive order. The rest of the stuff, whatever it is, has been codified or whatever. But that's an interesting point is, okay, so if Congress, if they passed legislation and then it went to Biden's desk and he signed it?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Well, it's like the whole argument about Barack Obama's birth certificate. Remember that whole thing?
Yes.
And it's like, so let's just, I was hosting in Colorado at the time, in Denver. And so I used to just muse and talk to myself. It's like, okay, so let's just figure out, let's just say that Obama is not actually allowed to be president. Let's say he was not born in this country. Okay, well then what happens to all of that legislation that he signed? If he's not eligible, then what happens to all of that? And I was seriously asking people who were screaming about the birth certificate. Well, it's kind of the same concept here. All right, so let's say Biden was not actually the one signing all of these things. Well, then now what? I mean, you bring up a great point, Joan. To me, what it does is it is future evidence that those of us who were screaming about this for a long time, this is just further evidence that we were right. Remember, there were people within the Biden White House who said, we don't even know who's running the White House, who's running the country.
Right.
Apparently, the auto pen was running the country. They say whoever controlled the auto pen controlled the presidency. They say, we gathered every document we could find with Biden's signature over the course of his presidency, all used the same auto pen signature, except for the announcement that the former president was dropping out of the race last year. They say auto pen signature are the ones that are automatically produced by a machine as opposed to an authentic handwritten signature. I mean, the more evidence, here's the deal. The more evidence that we find that Joe Biden was not of his right mind and they were auto penning all of these executive orders and, auto penning these things into law, I don't know if there's anything that we can actually do about it, but what it does do is it does expose what was going on within the Biden White House.
Perhaps Congress could take this issue up and make it there has to be two witnesses to a signature. Like they need to make some kind of law that says that our president is actually making the decisions for our country.
Well, that's a great point. Look what Trump is doing. He's signing all this stuff in front of people.
Yes.
I mean, I
love the presentation.
Oh, don't you?
Yeah, the guy that comes over and explains what each one is.
But remember, Hakeem Jeffries says that we're on the run.
We're on the run.
We're on the run.
Don't you remember when Biden was signing stuff, he asked one time, what am I signing?
Yes.
Ain't that like the most
There were people
telling?
There were people that said he had no idea when he actually signed stuff. He had no idea what he was signing. Hey, you guys want to hear some catastrophic climate predictions that failed?
Oh, yes. I love this.
These are always fun, aren't they? In 1970, they warned, Democrats, of course, and climate people, warned that 75 to 80% of species would be extinct by 1995. Wrong. I mean, that's like 75 to 80% of all species? That is crazy, but obviously also wrong. They also said that there would be no more crude oil and none of our land would be usable for agriculture. They said that it would also be 11 degrees cooler by the year 2020. False. Also, in 1970, biologist Paul Ehrlich at Stanford University warned that by the end of the decade, up to 200 million people would die each year from starvation due to overpopulation.
Each year. Where do you get that number?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Paul Ehrlich.
It's like the doomsday clock. Remember that? That thing?
Yep.
It's like, what is that? Like a minute to midnight, and they're freaking out about it.
They also said life expectancy would plummet to 42 years, and all ocean life would perish. That is extremely false. They continue on. In the early 70s, Paul Gunther, a professor at the North Texas State University, predicted that world population will outrun food supplies, and the entire world, with the exception of Western Europe, North America, and Australia, will be in famine by the year 2000. Didn't happen. I mean, it goes on.
Do you want to hear my favorite?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here you go. And everybody knows this one, I'm sure. It's Leonard Nimoy.
At least 8 times in the past million years, it has advanced and retreated with clockwork regularity. If we are unprepared for the next advance, the result could be hunger and death on a scale unprecedented in all of history.
Yeah, it was that thing about the climate and the temperatures are advancing and declining, and we're going to end up, I think the claim was that it would be so cold we would all die.
It would be an ice age.
Yeah.
We'd be in the next ice age, which is now we're in the global warming, so make up your mind, people.
Bob Woodruff of ABC News hosted a 2-hour climate special warning that New York City would be underwater by 2015.
Oh, yeah, I remember
that.
that
Would probably benefit New York City, to be honest.
I was going to say, you know what?
Drown the rats.
Jesus.
Wow, that went dark quick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rats.
I have family in New York City.
But there's a lot of rats.
Can I get them out first?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
In 2009, of course, former Vice President and climate activist Al Gore predicted the Arctic Ocean would have no ice by 2014, which is the same thing Greta Thunberg, is it Thunberg or Thunberg, whatever, said would happen by 2022. Nope, still ice.
How dare you?
How dare you?
So anyway, and you know what's interesting? They're still doing this. Didn't AOC say that Miami would be underwater in 5 years or something like that?
12 years, and it's already like...
Yeah, we were past the point of no return like 5 years ago.
Yes. So, and you know what's so funny? They keep doing this.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing, is they keep doing this. And so that is, at least for me, kind of fun. Now, real quick, the Daily Dan poll. Tennessee is considering raising the interest cap on payday loans. By the way, just so you folks know, I'm going to do a whole monologue on this coming up, because the Republicans who are saying, oh, we need to allow these places to make money, they are making hundreds of millions of dollars in the state of Tennessee right now, as a matter of fact. So I'm calling BS on some state Republicans. And by the way, I'm just going to tell you that this will probably end up passing, because Bill Lee is, I believe, all for this. It's already passed the state Senate. More than likely, it's going to pass the House of Representatives as well. But I want to know what you think. They want to raise it from 30 to 36%. And these are, I will tell you, predatory loans, the payday loans. Tennessee is considering allowing these companies to raise that interest cap, which means that these loans will be a lot more expensive to pay back. And these loans, really, they go for the people in our society who are desperate and they don't have a lot of money and their credit is shot. And there's two different ways to look at this, and I'll cover this here in a little bit. But where is the Daily Dan poll on this right now? Right. Last time we checked, most people were like, no, we should not allow them to raise those interest rates.
Yeah, right now, no is still at 79%.
Okay. Go take the Daily Dan poll and watch us on Supertalk 99.7 and WTN.com. You can see the video there. You can watch us on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you would. You can also watch us on Facebook and X, which, by the way, is back up as well. It is 5:53 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones has the news at 6. Hey, Joan.
Hey there. A drive-by shooting in East Nashville and a woman asleep in her bed was struck. Also, President Trump's latest threat regarding tariffs. For a hint here, they're not going away. Those stories coming up at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information-fueled, opinion-driven, and all the latest news headlines with Joan Jones and Ken Weaver at the top and bottom of every hour. Start streaming now on the Super Talk 99.7 WTN app.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low. It just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Something exciting is on the horizon for those 55 and better. You won't want to miss this. Del Webb Barton Village is putting the final touches on 6 model homes at Nashville's newest 55-plus resort-style living community. With thoughtfully crafted single-story designs and world-class amenities, every day will feel like a vacation. Come check out their grand opening April 5th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with live music, food, and fun. Visit delwebb.com/Nashville to learn more. At least one resident of household must be 55 years of age or older, and additional restrictions apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low. It just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
If you feel like you've been ripped off by auto repair shops, you're not alone. It's one of the reasons I started Eurofix and AutoFix, because all I ever heard was, they keep your car forever, they're not honest, and they don't call you back when they say they will. Call in this Saturday beginning at 8 a.m. to get advice about your vehicle, and let's see if we can fix it. Find out how to keep from getting ripped off and avoid costly mistakes with your vehicle. Join me this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. It's Fixing Cars with Aaron Stokes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Brought to you by Eurofix and AutoFix.
Sponsored by Cordell and Cordell.
Cordell and Cordell. Divorce and Family Law. 866-323-7529. 222 2nd Avenue South, 17th floor, Nashville, Tennessee, 37201. CordellCordell.com.
This report brought to you by Mark Spain Real Estate.
Hi, this is Mark Spain, and our offers are the strongest in the industry. When you receive a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, there's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Call 855-299-SOLD or go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
5:57, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? All right, so this is kind of funny. Al Green. Well, of course, we know Al Green. I believe Al Green's an idiot. And I think that Al's best days were back in the 1960s. But anyway, so you know that he went on to The Breakfast Club. And he actually, and I've got the entire story coming up. but he goes on the Breakfast Club after getting kicked out of Trump's speech, the joint session of Congress, that speech. He got kicked out, and now he's saying that he is a victim of discrimination.
Invidious discrimination in the House of Representatives. I'm a son of the segregated South. The rights that the Constitution recognized for me, my friends and neighbors denied. I had to sit in the back of the bus.
Okay, so I love how he's talking about how he had to sit in the back of the bus. I would like to remind Al Green, and I've got a whole segment on this coming up. I would remind Al Green, because there's a lot more audio, and you're going to start yelling at your radio.
I already was.
And so I would remind Al Green that at one time, apparently, I don't know how old this dude is, but he had to sit in the back of the bus. He was in like the second or third row in Congress. So what is he be itching about? So you had to sit in the back of the bus many, 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 many years ago. I'm sorry that happened to you, but you have made it so far. You've come a long way that you were in the second or third row, just feet from the President of the United States, and you stood up and you were allowed to have your piece, say your piece with President Donald Trump, pointing your cane threateningly at the president before you were escorted off. And by the way, this is obviously not, do I have to really explain this to people? It clearly was not discrimination. You were kicked out because of your actions, not because of your skin color. Duh. That's the Democrat Party. When they don't have an argument, they scream racism, racism, racism. Got a lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
WWTN, Hendersonville, Nashville. From the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
And the Mark Spain Real Estate WTN Newsroom. Information fueled, opinion driven.
This is Nashville's news and talk leader.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 6 o'clock, and it's 41 degrees. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. An East Nashville woman seriously injured by a bullet that entered her bedroom through the outside wall as a drive-by shooting was taking place in her neighborhood.
She managed to call 911, but they had to break through a window to get to her. Right now, she is in the hospital with serious injuries, and neighbors say that they heard multiple gunshots, then squealing tires as a car sped off.
That's Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac. In Murfreesboro, somebody was caught on camera breaking into a smoke shop located on the downtown public square. The robber throwing a rock and shattering the front window to gain access. Then he stole a number of items and a box of cash before driving off in a silver mid-sized SUV. President Trump on Maria Bartiromo's Sunday show on Fox that has said that his tariffs against Canada and Mexico may go even higher than the 25% that's set to go into effect next month. At least one group thinks that's okay.
Democrats slamming Trump's trade policy. But Sean Fain, the president of the United Auto Workers Union, praising Trump's tariffs for bringing jobs and manufacturing back to the U.S.
Tariffs are an attempt to stop the bleeding from the hemorrhaging of jobs in America for the last 33 years.
Trump officials admit his policies could impact prices.
ABC's Selena Wang. Meantime, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick confirming on NBC's Meet the Press that the Trump promised 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports go into effect on Wednesday. Tariffs on Canadian dairy and lumber, they'll start April 2nd. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
ABC News, Wall Street now. Stock futures point to a lower opening amid concerns about the strength of the economy and worries over trade wars around the world. Also weighing on traders is China's Consumer Price Index, which has fallen at its fastest clip in more than a year. On Friday, stocks ended a very bad week with a winning session. The Dow Jones gained 223 points. The S&P gained back 0.5% of its lost ground. The Nasdaq Composite went into the weekend with a 0.7% gain. President Trump over the weekend dismissed concerns that his tariffs could have an impact on American businesses. When he was asked if he thinks there could be a recession this year, he didn't rule it out, but said this is, in his words, a period of transition. A week from today is the wearing of the green, but Krispy Kreme is getting into the St. Patrick's spirit early. It's rolling out a lineup of donuts inspired by the holiday, including the Pot of Gold, a glazed donut dipped in caramel and topped with gold sprinkles. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
All right, now I'm hungry. We've got Dow Futures down 384 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. No delays so far on 24. Headed in 65 looks great, and so does 40 this morning. We do have that construction spot in Nashville on Holt Road between Brookview Forest Drive and Nolensville Pike. That one is through the summertime. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning, dear friends. How are you? How are you? March 10th, it is Monday. Hope you are doing well. Man, there is a lot to talk about. I don't know about you. I had trouble sleeping last night. I'm really, really worried about this possible upcoming government shutdown.
You are not.
I'm really not. I actually, I'm one of those people, Joan. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people. Shut it down.
Yeah.
Just shut it down. That's me these days. So we're going to get into that because Trump and the Republicans, I think that the majority of Republicans, they could give two craps as to whether or not the government shuts down. However, they don't want to be blamed for it. So we're going to talk about that coming up because Donald Trump said something interesting during that interview with Maria Bartiromo. I've got some great audio from the president. I want to finish this thought, though, on Al Green. Now, you remember Al Green? He's the congressman out of Texas, and he was yelling at the president about how he has no mandate to cut Medicare or Medicaid and all that. And President Trump and all the Republicans, they have not said they are cutting Medicare. You remember when Trump was talking to the joint session of Congress, it was all about Trump and Medicare, the Democrats were freaking out and making all of these accusations. The reality is that Donald Trump and the Republicans have said that Medicare will be fully funded. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make Medicare and Medicaid better. That's what they're trying to do. And so, of course, the Democrats are doing what they're doing. They are hurling all of these accusations, and there's no evidence that the president or the Republicans want to cut these various programs. So Al Green, of course, you know that he got kicked out. I played you all of the audio last week. He said that the president has no mandate, et cetera. So Al Green goes, and this is so predictable. I'm just going to be honest with you, friends. I'm almost embarrassed to even play you this audio because it is so ridiculous. But I will.
Hold on, was that another like really cool thing that you're saying now, ridic?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that like ridiculous?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
You like
I just, I wanted to make sure that everybody understood.
Want to make sure people are keeping up with my
when you throw down
with my danacular.
Yeah.
My vernacular, whatever. Moving on. Ridiculous. So Al Green on the Breakfast Club, and this is what he had to say, calling the Republicans racist for kicking him out based on his bad behavior, not the color of his skin. But this is part of what he had to say to the Breakfast Club in what I'm sure was a riveting interview.
The balcony of the movie, drink from a colored water fountain, and my relatives who committed some crimes were locked up in the bottom of the jail. I know what invidious discrimination looks like. The Klan burned a cross in my yard. I know what it smells like. I was in filthy waiting rooms, and I've been in places where I didn't want to be, and I know what it sounds like. I've been called all kinds of ugly names. So I know invidious discrimination. And when the speaker decided that I would be removed, and then there was this motion, this resolution to censure me, it became obvious to me that I was not being treated as others were. Mm-hmm. And candidly speaking, it is invidious discrimination, harmful discrimination.
So obviously he found a new word, invidious, which basically means unjust or unfair. But speaking the obvious again, he was kicked out. He was censured because he would not sit down. He would not shut up. And so the reason, I would say to Al Green, the reason, dude, that you're not being treated the same as everyone else is because no one else was doing what you were doing, threatening the president and Republicans with your cane. The president was simply trying to give his speech, and unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, Al Green wouldn't stop. Marjorie Taylor Greene did. She said her piece. She sat back down. Unlike Congressman Al Green, he wouldn't stop. So, yeah, there is a difference. He was warned over and over again. But what do the Democrats do when they have no way to defend their behavior, when they don't have the argument on their side, when they don't have the facts on their side? Yes, they like to scream racism. So obviously there is a difference. Sane people know that there is a difference. But listen, these Democrats, they're not sane. You know that. I know that. Donald Trump knows that.
People don't want to hear about these stupid ideas that they have. Transgender for everybody. And again, the men and women's sports, what is that, a 90 to 10 deal? I don't even know who the 10 would be. But they're fighting for it. And I try and say to myself, because you always like to understand where your opponent is, whether it's in business or anything else, is there something I don't understand? But we don't understand it. And I tell Republicans, take that night, because that was a great night, and run your midterms on it. Yep. And show us I'm talking about some young child with cancer,
yep,
or some young, beautiful girl like Laken Riley, who was killed, and they don't get up. And they don't salute the mother who's there devastated.
Well, again, not to belabor the point, but everybody knows the Democrats, they've obviously simply become the party of no when it comes to anything Donald Trump and the Republicans need to do, want to do. And yes, the case in point, the government is about to possibly shut down. Here we are once again talking about this. And so the Republicans and Donald Trump, they want to pass this continuing resolution, a stopgap spending measure to keep the government going while they work out a budget for next year. Now, there is a clean resolution that is on the table. And basically what they want to do, what the Republicans want to do, is we're going to spend almost exactly what we spent last year. Nothing more, nothing less. There's a couple of little anomalies, but the bottom line is we just want to continue on with what Joe Biden was doing. Stephen Miller had something to say about this.
It means it just freezes current funding. So it adds no new spending. It creates no new programs. It doesn't have any new slush funds. It just says we're going to continue current spending while we work on a budget plan for next year, and that's when you can implement all of the new reforms. In Washington, it has never happened before, never, that a government was shut down over a clean government funding bill. It's never happened before. Anytime a clean government funding bill has been on the table, government has been funded. So if Democrats are going to try to shut the government down over a clean funding bill, it would just demonstrate that they've become as hopelessly Marxist and crazy as we all know they've become by watching their behavior.
So again, that's Stephen Miller with Trump's team. But here's the problem. We have Thomas Massie, the Republican congressman out of Kentucky, who says no, he's not going to vote for this because it doesn't have any DOGE cuts. But again, this is a continuing resolution. They basically don't want to increase funding. They don't want to decrease funding until they can get this budget worked out. But there might be some Democrats in Trump-won counties who will vote for this. But there are some anomalies, and I'm going to tell you those anomalies coming up. It is 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Checking in accident-free. I'm Christy O'Brien.
6:15, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. As far as your weather for today, a high of 65 and sunny. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. So you may hear about some of these anomalies that are in this continuing resolution. More money for ICE. That's a good thing because we want to get the bad guys and the illegal aliens out. That was a mandate for the president. Less money for the IRS. I don't know about you, but I don't have a problem with that. And an increase for veterans' health care. The Associated Press puts it like this. House Democrat leadership accusing Republicans of putting up a partisan continuing resolution that rips away life-sustaining health care and retirement benefits from everyday Americans. Again, this is a clean bill, no major cuts, and no big increases in spending. It is a clean bill. They're continuing with what basically they had under Biden until they can implement the reforms that Donald Trump wants to put in place with the next budget. House GOP leadership, because, the Republicans have said that they're not going to do anything to impact Medicaid. They're not going to impact any Medicare in this continuing resolution, but you've got the hair on fire Democrats saying, oh, no, Medicaid is our red line. Okay, well, that's fine. And basically what's happening is the Democrats are lying about what the Republicans want to do. And they're saying, oh, the Republicans are going to go after Medicaid when they're not. The other thing is you're going to hear is that Republicans are trying to cut the benefits of veterans. That is going to be a big accusation. You're going to hear that today. You're going to hear that tomorrow. You're going to hear that moving forward. Now, here's what that is. The Republicans have said that they're going to overhaul the VA and that they're going to possibly eliminate some positions. The Trump White House swears benefits will not be impacted. It's a lot of administrative stuff. So does the GOP, are they planning on cutting a bunch of jobs within the VA? Well, this is GOP Congressman Greg Murphy. He was on Fox News, and this is what he says.
During the Biden administration, I sit on Veterans Affairs, and 1 out of 10 of my constituents are veterans. But if meeting with Secretary Collins, during the Biden administration, by their own admission, overhired. overhired. They hired, I think it was close to 80,000 people. They increased spending $180 billion when essentially the number of veterans and veteran services was flat. More came in from the PACT Act, but a lot of veterans got disenfranchised, waiting months and months and months for appointments and just left the VA. Look, it's called efficiency and accountability is here. Doug is the right man to help bring that back to the VA.
All right, so they want to go back to the 2019 staffing levels. And Biden, basically the administration, they went on this hiring spree. And so now the Trump administration wants to eliminate 72,000 positions by going back to 2019 levels because Biden came in and they hired all of these people. Now, there was something that happened. I want to make sure that I give you the complete story. When Trump left office, there were 400,000 employees within the VA. Biden hired another 80,000 employees, but the amount of veterans remained the same. So why did they hire all of those people? One big thing was the PACT Act, which opened up claims for veterans that were exposed to toxins. Now, just so we're clear, I absolutely agree with these veterans being able to get some help for the medical care that they need because they have been exposed to toxins. It is an awful thing. This is like the one thing that I actually agree with Joe Biden on because his son died after being exposed to these toxins in the Iraq War. But the backlog, this is the point. The backlog of claims grew. This is the backlog from 40,000 to 175,000. So they increased the employees by 72 to 75,000 people. Yet the backlog went from 40,000 to 175. So they increased employees big time, but they became less efficient. I mean, only in America and only our government could be so, I don't know if corruption would be the right word, but whatever it is, they're wasting money. And that's the whole point. The whole point is that you can release a bunch of employees, you can get rid of a bunch of employees, and if you fix the systems, then you can increase your efficiency. That's the whole point of DOGE. It is 6:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN. Coming up, Bill Maher crushes the Democrats. That great audio straight ahead on Super Talk 89.7. Joan Jones has the news coming up. Joan.
Gonna make you a little hungry here, but Wendy's is giving the Frosty a makeover. And that's all our news is about coming up here at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's Super Talk TV on 99.7 WTN.
6:21. Dan Mandis here, my friends at Nashville Tent and Awning. Listen, springtime and warmer weather is here. Summer is next. What big events do you have planned? Now, whether it's a big corporate event or a family reunion, maybe a wedding at your home, Nashville Tent and Awning, they can help you with an incredible enclosure that can be installed anywhere on your property. Now, this is a great Tennessee company. They've been around since 1884. These folks are a Nashville institution, and they've worked with the likes of the Tennessee Titans, Vanderbilt, and yes, the Grand Ole Opry. They are one of the top companies in Nashville, and they can help you extend your living space. Think about your backyard. You can actually extend your living space with a backyard enclosure so that you can enjoy it even when it gets really hot. Now, if you have an event for work coming up, they can also help you there as well. With a tent or an enclosure, they've got awnings, by the way, for any style of building that will improve the look and the feel of your home or office. Get some visuals and check it all out at their website, ntaco.com. I call it NTACO, ntaco.com. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out, 615-329-3701, 615-329-3701. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. Solid craftsmanship and built to last since 1884 in Nashville Tent and Awning. Dan Mendes here. Can you take the power of your home internet almost anywhere? Well, with Xfinity, you actually can. Do more of what you love in the places you go the most with internet and mobile together. Now, Xfinity built a network that is 99.99% reliable. Plus, Xfinity Mobile has Wi-Fi Power Boost, giving you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. Get the same reliable network in the places you need it most, like at the coffee shop, in line at the grocery store, or maybe at the game, all to power more of what you love. Whether you're a gamer, streaming, or working from home, whatever you're into, you'll love how fast you can do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile together. And right now, through April 17th, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $30 a month for 1 year with no annual contract. And save $1,000 in that first year over Verizon and AT&T. Plus, ask us how to get a free premium 5G phone. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet Plus 1 unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 Plus 1 unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Reduced speeds after 300 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary. .627, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? Bill Maher. So earlier we were playing some audio of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and he actually said, I kid you not, that he's got Republicans on the run. That's what Hakeem Jeffries says. Bill Maher, of course, a known progressive, a known liberal, is laughing not only at how bad the Democrats are right now, laughing at Congressman Al Green for his antics during Trump's speech last week, because clearly, and the polling shows, that the majority of the American people were aghast at the horrific behavior of the Democrats. And you know what? Democrats are calling out members of Congress.
Different Al Green. He's 77. He uses a cane, and he was shaking his cane at the president, which I thought was an apt metaphor, a cane shaking for this Democratic Party. Lame. That's okay. All right. Please. I don't need your pity. I'd appreciate it. I just don't need it. But, it's interesting. The Democrats are fighting back in a way. You know how Republicans are always threatening a government shutdown? Well, now the Democrats are going to do that. Yeah, they said they're tiring of all this firing and all this furloughing and all this closing of government departments. And they say, if you don't stop shutting down the government, we're going to shut down the government.
There you go.
That's where America is.
Bill Maher. By the way, there has been a major Doge announcement. That, my friend, is coming up next right here on Nashville's Morning News. On Super Talk 99.7. Watch us on Facebook. Watch us on YouTube. Like and subscribe. The Super Text line is open. 615-737-9986. Got a lot more straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning at 6:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Christians and other innocent civilians are being slaughtered at a breakneck pace in Syria as that country's civil war is escalating. Now, Syria's interim president is calling for unity and pledging to investigate those deaths.
Syrians now burying their dead after brutal violence rips through the country, still recovering from the fall of the Assad regime. More than 1,300 people killed so far, most of them civilians. the deadliest few days since the conflict began 14 years ago. Secretary of State Marco Rubio condemning what he calls the radical Islamist terrorists, including foreign jihadis that murdered people in western Syria, adding that the interim authorities must hold those responsible accountable.
That's ABC's Lana Hassam reporting. In Memphis, the man accused of throwing a newborn baby into a garbage dumpster is facing new charges. 45-year-old James Booth is now charged with trafficking and the rape of an underage person. A 16-year-old girl told police she gave birth in the backseat of a car in January as Booth was driving her to a hospital. But he pulled over, put the baby in a plastic bag, and threw the baby in a dumpster behind a gas station. His bond is set at $1 million. Wendy's is giving the Frosty a makeover. Soon, customers will be able to mix in things like chocolate sauce and cookie bits to create their own Frosty creations. Wendy's is building on its successful test with Girl Scout cookies, in which Frosties could be mixed with Thin Mint cookie bits. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and
Joan,
weather.
quick, favorite Girl Scout cookie. Go.
What's the Samoa?
Samoans?
Is that the one
Samoas?
with the coconut?
Shortbread.
Shortbread. Yeah,
So,
they're good too.
KGB likes shortbread. You're a Samoa person.
They're ridiculously expensive though, and the packages get smaller.
We call that shrinkflation.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I'm a Thin Mint kind of guy myself. Throw them in the freezer.
Only if they're in the freezer, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
Well, very good. Thank you,
Okay,
Joan.
there you go. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN
By the way,
News.
just for the consultants, that was my official pop culture segment right there.
Oh, there you
that
go.
little
Perfect.
30-second conversation, it's right there.
Yeah, nice.
632 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You need a gun safe? Go to my friends at DT McCall's, because right now gun safes are sales tax free. You know, DT McCall's, they are the largest Liberty Safe dealer in the state of Tennessee. So many reasons why. Number one, free delivery. Number two, free setup. Other places going to charge you $500 at least for delivery and setup in bigger models, and $300 for smaller models. But at DT McCall & Sons, they deliver every safe for free every time, period. And no setup charge either. Security is important these days, and a Liberty gun safe from DT McCall's can be used for valuables and cash and jewelry, important documents, you name it. So save some big bucks right now on your Liberty gun safe when you shop at your local DT McCall's. They've got 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com. Window Nation. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Window Nation. This is my window company. They've put 4 windows in my home in the last couple of years. I do suspect they're going to be back, because Window Nation, man, they do great work. So if this is the year that you upgrade your home, start with a call to my friends at Window Nation. Right now, a great deal. They're offering you a full 60% off all window styles, and you pay nothing for 2 full years. No payments or interest for 24 months. That is a great deal for great windows from my friends at Window Nation. You know, they've got over 20,000 5-star reviews, including mine, and Window Nation has a 96% customer satisfaction rating. Even Forbes has ranked Window Nation highest on their list of best window installers. So don't forget that great deal, 60% off all window styles, and you pay no interest and no payments for 2 full years. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out at 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION. Find them online, windownation.com.
Watch it on your way out to the airport this morning. There's a crash Donaldson Pike at Hanger Lane. Also at the John Toon Airport. This is in Davidson County. Cockrell Bend Boulevard at Cockrell Bend Circle. Watch for an accident in that spot, too. And then the crash blocking off the right shoulder of 40, the eastbound lanes at Fessler's Lane this morning. That's exit 212. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.636, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How are you? All right, so I want to do something, Joan, that I haven't done in years.
Okay.
I want to do something that I used to when I was in the midday. I used to do this thing, and it was called I Report, You Decide. So what I do is I to the best that I can, give a non-biased approach to a topic. I give both sides, and then I want the good people of WTN Nation to decide how they feel about it. Because usually, talk show hosts, it's all about our opinion, right? But it's also about your opinion. And so I want to know how people feel about the fact that the state of Tennessee is considering raising the interest cap on these payday loans. Now, that is our Daily Dan poll question as well. You go to YouTube and you watch us on YouTube, and you can take the Daily Dan poll. And so I'm going to open up the phone lines right now, and I'm going to tell you the story. And I want to know what you think about this, because I can see both sides to this story. So the phone number is 615-737-9986. Also, some big Doge news coming up as well here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So we're talking about this earlier in the 5 o'clock hour. And I do, again, not to belabor the point, but I see this from both sides, where these payday loan places, you know what these are, right? So you typically find these places in lower income neighborhoods. Let's just say that way. There's a lot of them in Memphis. And so what basically it is if you are $1,000 short and you need $1,000, then you can go into one of these places and they'll give you $1,000 until payday. Then when payday comes, you've got to pay them back the $1,000, but you also have to pay a boatload of interest. Now, the reason why I find this interesting is because there is disagreement among Republicans in the state as to whether or not we should allow these companies to increase the interest rates on those loans. And so right now, if they are allowed to do, these companies, if they're allowed to do what some Republicans want them to be able to do, which is raise their interest rate up to like 36%, then if you borrow $1,000, then they're going to charge you an additional $360 in interest, not to mention a whole bunch of fees. And so people are freaking out about this because this is a lot of people, and I would say that it is predatory, because these are people that don't have good credit, and they're also incredibly low income. And so these places are very controversial. And so now there is a bill in the state legislature that would allow these places to increase those interest rates. This is from Fox 17. Listen.
Bill that would raise the interest rate ceiling. Lenders across the state can charge customers like you. Right now, the cap is set at 30%. The bill, though, being considered would increase that number to 36%. Critics say payday loans like this prey on low-income earners with bad credit. But supporters, which include House Majority Leader William Lamberth, say these loans are often a lifeline for people going through tough times. And Lamberth says the companies that offer these loans have to make a profit.
For those entities to exist, sometimes we have to continue to increase those rates to keep up with inflation, to keep up with just the business demands that are out there. But the trick is that even at a higher interest rate, at least it's available for folks that do not have good credit.
Now, Representative Lamberth is one of the co-sponsors of the bill. It also has the support of leadership in the state Senate.
In other words, this is probably going to pass. SB 694 would raise that interest rate cap on some of these loans, meaning that getting a quick loan till payday is going to be a lot more expensive. The Tennessean says this: the bill would allow these outfits to increase their maximum interest rate from 24 to 36% on personal loans over $5,000, with an increased cap of 36% interest rate on loans less than $5,000. And again, don't forget those fees. In other words, the state is going to allow these companies that are already charging massive interest and fees on loans to low-income, no-credit folks. They're going to be even more expensive. So again, what I was saying, to boil all this down, it is March 10th. You need $1,000 so that you don't get kicked out of your apartment because rent was due on the 1st. You go to one of these payday loan places, you borrow that $1,000, but now you've got to pay back 36%, which is an extra $360. So now you have even more debt, and that just adds to the cycle of debt. Is this fair? If you're a conservative, if you're a Republican in the state of Tennessee, do you think that this is something the Republicans should do? Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson, Republican out of Franklin, said the bill will provide, quote, greater access to credit for some of those who are in the most dire of circumstances. Johnson argued it is difficult to reestablish financial credit without access to credit, but some people are in financial situations where they can't open a credit card or go to a local bank for a loan. Senator Johnson, Senate Majority Leader, is absolutely right. You are dealing with people who these payday loans are a lifeline. And if it wasn't for these payday loans, guess what? A lot of these people would be out on the street. What do you think? Democrats, by the way, are not happy about this. Should the state of Tennessee increase that interest cap? 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. I want to know what you think. Democrats, by the way, are not happy that the Republicans want to do this. And by the way, there's some Republicans that are also not happy about this. People say, you know what, these folks that are going for these loans, they're typically unbanked, the most financially insecure folks across the state. And our legislature, according to Democrats, and our legislature felt it was a good idea to make it more expensive for them to be able to borrow money, says Senate Minority Leader Ramesh Akbari, Democrat out of Memphis. I'm not a big fan of these places. I do believe that they are predatory. It does increase the cycle of poverty. But here's the thing. Where can these folks go? This is my point. Where can these people go? If they are desperate, they've got kids, and they have no other place to go, and if they can make it to payday, they're going to be okay. So if they're desperate and they need that money, they can get it from these places. But some folks, a lot of folks basically call this legalized loan sharking. I spoke to no less than 3 of my Republican friends over the weekend because I myself am torn on this. I kid you not, friends. All 3 of them said this is legalized loan sharking. And by the way, when Republicans say, well, these places, they've got to be able to make money. Oh, they make money. They absolutely make money. One of, if not the biggest in the state, is a place called Advance Financial. And they made, according to estimates, $515 million across America. They're based in Tennessee. Some say that they generated, here in the state of Tennessee, around $300 million just in our state, which is their home base. And so you talk to some folks, it is interesting. You talk to some folks and they say that these places are a godsend. Other folks actually will say that they're devil sent. So I report, you decide. What do you think? I got full phone lines. If you hear somebody drop off, you can call right back. 615-737-9986. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Pontoon Airport, Cockrell Bend Boulevard. There's an accident at Cockrell Bend Circle. I'm Christy O'Brien.
As far as your weather for today, 65 degrees and sunny. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. It is 38 degrees. So I've posed the question to you. I've reported. Now I want you to decide. You tell me what you think. Anthony is calling from Nashville on WTN. Anthony, thanks for calling in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it should be increased because that's how they make their money. And again, that's a big risk that you're asking someone else to take with their own money, and you're putting it to people who don't have great credit. So it doesn't necessarily coordinate with untrustworthiness, but again, that's often what it is. So I don't see why they shouldn't be able to increase it. So that's just me anyway.
Yeah, no, you know what, Anthony? And you bring up a very rational point, which is these are high-risk loans. And so what happens is you have all of these people who are paying exorbitant interest rates. Part of that is that they have to charge these exorbitant interest rates because there's a lot of folks that may not pay these loans back. So,
and again, they don't have to. It's not like they're forced to do it. Even though they put in a position where they have to take it, they don't have to take it in a way. If you know what I mean. It's not like.
Yep, I know exactly what you mean, Anthony, and thank you very much for the call. Appreciate it. This is James calling from the Borough on WTN. Hey, James, go ahead.
Hey, Dan, this is James. Half of these institutions are backed up by title loans and all this. So Anthony saying that they won't get their money back. No, most of these are backed up by, like I said, title loans, other ways of paying. They usually got their money within. They know they're going to get their money.
So are you for or are you for or against this, James? You're against
these
it.
Are the lowest. These people in the worst spots in their life are having to do these. Not that they got to, want to. They have to. So yes, no, they don't need it. They're already getting picked off by government. No more. No, sir.
Do you know, James? Do you know what the payday loan capital of America is?
30. Well, I don't know about America, but you said, 30% here in the state of Tennessee? That is tremendous.
Memphis.
That is more than enough for them to be making money.
Yeah, you got these things in Memphis all over the place, and Memphis is considered the payday loan capital of the world. Thank you very much for playing along. Roger is on line 3 on WTN. Hey, Roger, go ahead.
Hey, Dan. No, this whole thing, they talk like it's hard for them to make money. Why is a new one opening every single week, it seems like? On your way into work, when you get to the intersection off of your road and you get to Lebanon Road, what's right across the street to the left? It's the same.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You know where I live. Yeah, you're right.
I do know where you live. But the thing is how many of them are there? If you turn left and go to McDonald's, how many are you going to pass between there and McDonald's? That's not even a mile. These people are making money, or they wouldn't be in it.
So let me ask you, are you against it because there's too many, or are you against it because they're predatory?
I'm against it because it's predatory. They are making a set percentage interest rate. If they have to go up on it and up on it and up on it, then they're like the federal government. It doesn't take more money to make more money.
Yeah.
Like that.
All right, Roger, thank you very much for the call. Here's the other thing. You're not going to win any friends within this community if you're going to allow these payday loan companies to raise that interest rate so much. You're not going to win a lot of friends that way. Billy is on, and a lot of those folks voted for Donald Trump. Billy's on line 4 on WTN. Billy, go ahead.
I think it's 100% predatory because we're talking about the percentage rate that they charge. They can charge 1,000% percentage rate, and people are so desperate, they're going to take it anyway. But what you're not talking about, you're talking about the interest rate. I get these live checks sent to the mail all the time. I tear them up because I don't need them, but it says whatever the percentage rate is. But what you're not talking about is the hidden fee. If I take out a $1,000 loan, I'm paying back $2,000. So that interest rate doesn't add up. So what they're not telling you and what they don't put in the check and the fine print on the bank of how much the fees are. Because if I borrow $1,000, I'm paying back $2,000. That's 100% interest rate.
Yeah, because I did mention the fees, and you're right. I've been lucky enough. I've never had to do this, but I do have friends that have had to go through this, and it is predatory and it is awful. And Billy, I thank you for the call. Joe's in Manchester on WTN. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, it's predatory. I've used them before because I had to.
Yeah.
You add in the fees. Some of these loans are 200-300% interest, and it's a trap. You get stuck because you're desperate and need the money.
Yep.
You can't never get it paid back. You got to keep taking the loan out again and again. But you add in the fees and everything, it's crazy. I mean, it's good that people have something in a lifeline, but it's definitely predatory. Definitely predatory. You'd be better off with a loan shark.
Well, Joe, let me ask you, though. You're right. I believe that it is predatory. What would you have done if those places weren't available?
I would have probably been screwed.
That's the conundrum, right? But you're right.
Yeah, right.
I just look at the numbers. One of these companies, $550 million and $300 million here in the state of Tennessee. So
yeah, they're making money. It's definitely, and most of the loans are actually secured. You have to write a check. It's like they hold a check for you, or give them a car title loan.
I was going to say, let's also
collateral.
Yep. Let's also not forget the car title loans. Thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate it. Tommy's on the line. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dan, I just want to say I got a neighbor that owns one of them places, and she made her money, but it's right down in Mount Juliet. She made her money, but y'all don't understand it. In Mount Juliet, that rent goes up on the builders, and they got a lot to pay. So I agree with it going up a little bit. I know senior citizens that depend on that every month to pay their damn water bill, electric bill.
Yep.
So if they pay it right away, it's not that bad, I don't think.
Well,
that's my opinion.
It's 36% if this bill goes through, and I believe that it will. And I appreciate the call. Real quickly, let's get to Jessica on the line here, line 5. Jessica, go ahead. Are you for or against it?
I'm definitely against it. I mean, these loans, they put me into bankruptcy, and I mean, the percentage on them is just insane. I don't know anybody does it.
And the problem is people keep doing it, and they can go to different ones as well. So, yeah, and they put you into bankruptcy. You had been doing these for a while, and
well, I mean, I needed it because I had lost my job, and I mean, I thought I'd be able to find a job soon enough, and next thing I know, I mean, I was like 4 or 5 loans in, and there was just no way of getting out of it.
All right, Jessica, thank you very much for the call, and I hope you're in better times. It's tough. See, what did I tell you? And Joan, so far, and hey, KGB, tell folks, I'll try to take some of their calls after this next break as well, before the news. I'm at 6 against and only 2 for. So we'll continue to take some of your calls here on Super Talk. Then, see, it's one of those issues where, there's conservatives that want to do this in the state of Tennessee, but, my not-so-scientific poll shows that the people that are conservative and listen to this radio station don't actually like it. Joan Jones has the news at 7. Joan.
Yeah, the CDC begins a study on any possible link between vaccines and autism. Also, a shocking display of bad sportsmanship at a high school championship track meet. We've got those stories coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Wait, is this the story about the baton?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God. Okay. Whew. All right. I'm not gonna mess with your tease.
Well, thanks.
It is a crazy story. I was going to call it a great story. It's not a great story. It is a crazy story. Details coming up on WTN. Dan Mandis here. My vision had been getting worse for years. I knew that I needed to make a change, deciding where to go for vision correction. It can be complicated and it takes research. I just got done getting through with all of this. I started asking around and looking online, and one name did keep coming up. Dr. Horn at Vision for Life. Now, their reviews are incredible, with many people sharing life-changing stories about their procedures. Now, Dr. Horn has been selected by his peers as one of the best physicians, one of the best eye surgeons, and one of the top 250 premier cataract surgeons in America. Now, most recently, he was voted Nashville's best ophthalmologist. After learning all of this and discussing lens replacement with Dr. Horn, I knew that I had to take that leap, and I did. It's been an amazing journey. I am so grateful to Dr. Horn and my friends at Vision for Life. Call them. Great company, 615-436-2020. If you want to improve your vision as well. Fix your vision. This is the company to go through. Vision for Life, 615-436-2020, 615-436-2020, visionforlife.com. .659, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. Real quickly, I want to say hello to Anonymous. You used to work at one of these payday loan places. You got any input on this?
Morning, Dan. Yeah, they don't call it a payday loan. Advanced Financial calls it a flex loan, and I think most of your viewers, 30 or 36% would be kind. The flex loan's at 269% compounded daily, and that's in the paperwork the client or the customer is given at the time they take out the loan. Most don't read it because they are much less fortunate than most of us, and they need the money. But it's compounded daily at 269%, and that's already went through the Tennessee House.
How can people possibly pay that back? If you've worked at one of these places, some of these stories have got to be absolutely heartbreaking. Thank you very much for the calls. I appreciate it. Got a lot more straight ahead. Number one, we have some big news coming out of the State Department this morning. And also, they are attacking Elon Musk big time. It is all straight ahead. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. Now, 7 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Careful this morning of an accident in Antioch. This is on Old Hickory Boulevard. It's east of Saddle Creek Way, causing a pretty sizable delay this morning. In the news, as many Americans are watching their 401ks tanking as Wall Street records a series of trading losses, President Trump is asking Americans to hold steady for a while.
I think the tariffs are going to be the greatest thing we've ever done as a country. It's going to make our country rich again.
And he said the tariffs will bring companies and factories back, noting that 90,000 U.S. factories closed since the beginning of the North American Free Trade Agreement. President Trump there had been answering reporters' questions aboard Air Force One. The CDC plans to study whether vaccines cause autism. A spokesperson for the Department of Health and Human Services confirming the effort in a statement over the weekend. Now, the department is now run, of course, by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He has expressed skepticism about vaccine safety. ABC's Ann Flaherty covers health care. She's got the latest.
HHS is not giving us a lot of details. I did ask, what exactly are you going to be studying? Who's going to be leading it? They didn't answer that question. We don't know exactly how they're going to be managing this. Kennedy has said that he has his own research and his own science that he would like to show people. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we do know that he is going to take a fresh look at this.
In other news, the search is on for a 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh student who is from India. Sudishka Kananki disappeared in the Dominican Republic while she was on spring break.
Kananki is an Indian citizen living in Virginia outside Washington, D.C. The Loudoun County Sheriff's Office in Virginia says she was traveling with 5 other women, all students at Pitt, including her best friend from high school. Investigators say the women are believed to have been staying at the same hotel in Punta Cana, the Hotel Riu Republica, according to the Dominican Foreign Ministry. All 6 women were scheduled to return on Friday. The 5 friends are still in the Dominican Republic. A major question for investigators, who was last with her?
ABC's Perry Russum reporting. And there was shock and anger at the Virginia Indoor Track Championships on Friday after one runner attacked another with a baton during a race. Now, this happened during the 200-meter relay at Liberty University when Kaylin Tucker was smacked on the head as she passed another runner. She suffered a concussion and a possible skull fracture. Her mother says neither the runner nor the coach has apologized.
They're running on the. I saw the video.
Yeah.
They're running on the track. There's a track meet, and it's not funny, but this other runner smacks the girl over the head with the baton.
She comes up behind the girl that got smacked on the head, came up behind the other girl, both of them with batons in their hands. And the girl that she passed was pretty mad about it. So she smacked her on the head.
Yeah. And then the girl, she got a concussion. I think they said that her skull might be fractured or something.
Possible skull fracture. Yeah. And she ran off the track and it ended. There's got to be charges at the end of this.
That is assault.
Oh, yeah.
That was absolutely
Yes.
assault.
In front of thousands of people. I don't understand why she thought she could get away with that.
Have you seen the video?
I did. I watched it.
Can you post it on our socials?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, post it on our socials because it is a crazy video. So, anyway.
Certainly is. All right. Market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. We're in for another rough ride on Wall Street this morning. We've got the Dow futures down 449 points. NASDAQ futures minus 282. S&P futures, they're down 70. That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, once again, that crash on in Antioch. It's on Old Hickory Boulevard, east of Saddle Creek Way, causing some delays this morning. Looks like 24 has just the normal volume delays heading into Nashville this morning. And you've also got some delays at the merge between 65 and 24 heading in from the north. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.708 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to the third hour. Hope you are doing well. There has been an all-out war against Elon Musk. And it's really having an impact, I believe, on Elon Musk. Number one, you know that he's getting death threats. Can you imagine the death threats that Elon Musk is getting? Now, thanks to Elon Musk and thanks to Doge, Marco Rubio has announced after a 6-week review, we are officially canceling 83% of the programs at USAID. That is huge. You have any idea how much money that's going to save? Listen to this. Again, this is Marco Rubio on X. The 5,200 contracts that are now canceled spent tens of billions of dollars in ways that did not serve and in some ways even harmed the core national interests of the United States. He says, in consultation with Congress, we intend for the remaining 18% of programs we are keeping, approximately 1,000, to now be administered more effectively under the State Department. He says, thank you to Doge for our hard work and our hardworking staff who worked very long hours to achieve this overdue and historic reforms. So in other words, Elon Musk and his staff, they have done amazing things to save you money. Yet Elon Musk and the insanity of the people on the left, they're threatening not only Elon Musk, they're threatening people that are driving Teslas. Have you seen this? So there's a whole thing going on now. Follow me on X, at Dan Manda Show. There is a video that I have posted this morning. It's one of many that are out there of these lunatics on the left that are attacking Teslas that they see driving down the street. And so this one particular video, it's obviously some progressive derelict. And there's a Tesla driving down the street, and he's flipping off the family of 5 inside of this Cybertruck. Like that's going to make any bit of difference. And the funny thing is, if you think about it, so more than likely, if I don't know if you have to be a Democrat to drive a Tesla these days, but more than likely, this guy is flipping off somebody who agrees with him on the issues because they bought a Tesla probably back when it was, Elon Musk was a Democrat before he joined the Trump administration.
Imagine if he stopped the car and confronted him. Do you think the guy would not expect that? He expected him not to confront him. That was what's cowardly. He knew he would get away with it.
I would love to see somebody get out of the Tesla and beat the living crap out of this guy. I really would. Because these are people that deserve to get their butts kicked.
He looks like a beta too, you know what I mean? He looks like he couldn't handle himself in a fight.
Well, if you find me on X at Dan Manda Show, you can see it for yourself. But Trump talked about this on Sunday with Maria Bartiromo.
One thing you might be thinking, well, if they're not talking about Teslas, if they're not buying Teslas, they're actually buying other EVs. China's MG, BMW's iX1, Polestar, also owned by China's Geely and Volvo, and other options. People aren't buying Teslas, but it's important to say that they are still buying electric vehicles, just not Teslas.
I mean, what's crazy is, that was from CBS London. And so what they're reporting is that you've got all of these people in Europe, and they're buying electric vehicles, but you know where they're buying the electric vehicles from? They're buying them from China. So I want to make sure you get this right. This is the incredibly twisted minds of progressives, is that China, with all of their human rights abuses, all of their cyber warfare, and all of the horrific things that the Chinese do, and people have such Trump derangement syndrome and America derangement syndrome and Elon derangement syndrome that they're willing to buy their vehicles from China and not Elon Musk.
Why do we believe these sales are dropping? What's driving that?
Basically, what Elon Musk has been talking about over the past, say, few months, ever since Donald Trump's election back to the White House, that has been fueling this anger, this frustration. Some even say disgust towards Musk, and they're taking it out on Tesla. Tesla now feeling the pain. Tesla sales fell by nearly half across the continent just last month.
Yeah, and they go through all of the various countries in Europe, and as they said, sales have literally been cut in half.
People just choosing with their wallets to not buy Teslas because of that Musk-Trump association. But we did see over the past couple months, ever since President Trump was elected on November 5th, the share price of Tesla rocketing. On that day, it was about $240. Flash forward about 5 weeks later, it nearly doubled to about $480. But ever since December 18th, it's been down, down, down.
Yeah, and so for President Trump, when he was being interviewed by Maria Bartiromo, one of the things that he said was that Elon's going through a lot, and he is a true patriot, and he is paying the price with death threats. You just heard what's going on with Tesla, and in Europe, the sales have been cut in half. And these people on the left would much rather support slavery and oppression and human rights violations, crackdowns on freedom of speech and information, and stealing intellectual property. That is what China stands for, folks. Do you see how bass-backwards these Democrats, these progressives are? And here in America, there's been a wave of vandalism against Tesla dealerships. You've got Molotov cocktails. You've got protests. You've got violence. It's crazy. From the AP, graffiti on a Tesla dealership sign, Molotov cocktails thrown in another dealership lot. Tesla charging stations have been literally set on fire. Across the country, the electric vehicle companies' facilities and vehicles are being hit with protests and violence over Elon Musk's role in the Trump administration. How sad is that? But this is the state of the Democrat Party. It is absolutely insane. Oh, and I haven't even played you the best audio yet. Wait till you hear what some of these yahoos on MSNBC had to say about Elon Musk and his business ventures. It is all straight ahead. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads. As far as your weather today, it's going to be 65 degrees and sunny, 38 now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. So it's been a bad couple weeks for Elon. So number one is, of course, he's getting all of these death threats. Number two is, I just told you the state of Tesla right now, not doing really well. He had his wings clipped from Donald Trump. We told you about that. And, of course, he also had a rocket blow up the other day in a test. Now, the folks over there at MSNBC, their glee was not only sickening, but it was obvious. This is Michael Steele.
My suggestion for Elon, his response to all of this was rockets are hard. And Mr. Musk, if they're so hard, why don't you go back to your day job and work that out and leave those of us who do government to do government? Because you can't do both. And clearly you're failing right now at both.
Really, I would like to ask Michael Steele, this is a Democrat progressive. I would like to ask him if he believes that he is succeeding. Did his party succeed in running the government when Joe Biden was in office? That would be my question to Michael Steele and any progressive that is out there. They were literally singing. I'm going to spare you the audio. They were literally singing at Elon Musk's misfortune of this rocket exploding during this experiment. They were singing. They were elated. And they were pious and sanctimonious. And Michael Steele, progressive, sitting there saying, yeah, Elon, clearly you're failing at running the government. Really? Because I just read a post, a social media post from Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, who said that they have canceled billions of dollars and thousands of frivolous contracts. And that was all done during the Biden administration. So I would ask the progressives who are saying, well, Elon can't run the government. Really? Can you? That'd be my question.
Your rockets are blowing up and the government's blowing up. So I suggest you concentrate on the one thing you think you know more about and do that. And leave the rest to those of us who know a little bit of how to provide services to people who need them and make the government function.
Don't you just love the sanctimonious tone of Michael Steele? I love how he says, well, the government providing services and we know how to do that. Really? Because under Biden, yeah, you were providing services for other countries, clearly. Regime change, DEI and trans-obsessed programs for foreign nations, billions and billions and billions of dollars in wasteful spending. So I would like to ask Michael Steele and progressives, before you say that Elon Musk is failing at running the government, which, by the way, he's not, I would like to know how you did in running the government, because it wasn't good. And so all sides of the aisle have it out for Elon Musk. And there are signs that his days with Donald Trump may be coming to an end. Again, he had his wings clipped, whatever. But for me, the bottom line is I agree with Donald Trump. Elon Musk has done a great job. He does have some things that he needs to focus on. He needs to figure out what's going on with Tesla, and he does need to figure out what's going on with these rockets. I got to tell you, though, Tim Burchett, Congressman Tim Burchett from here in Tennessee, he made some great points about Elon Musk. This was last week where he was telling Elon Musk and Republicans to follow the money.
You've got congressmen on both sides of the aisle that, if they follow that paper trail, it's going to come back to them. You got their wife and or girlfriend that works for some agency, quasi-agency or some business. I'll probably get primary for saying that, but that's the truth, and we all know it. And this town's crooked as a dog's leg. Somebody's going to straighten it out. Looks like it's going to be Elon Musk.
There you go. And he is absolutely right, Congressman Tim Burchett. 720 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN. By the way, the Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. Joan, what's coming up at 7:30?
Well, coming up, Dan, the Department of Government Efficiency digs into Social Security. Those stories coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here. Listen, the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate is how you need to sell your home the next time you need to put it on the market. You can receive the strongest cash offer in the industry. You will save both time and you're going to make the most money. Now, with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can skip the hassle of getting your home ready to sell. You can receive an all-cash offer and close in as little as 21 days. There's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Now, one of their clients, Jerry, he said we needed to move quickly, and yes, we were worried the process would be lengthy and we'd spend a lot of money on repairs. Mark Spain Real Estate got us an offer in just 3 days, and it was over the asking price. It was amazing. I will tell you that selling your home is a big decision, and who you work with matters. Work with my folks, Mark Spain Real Estate. Find out what your guaranteed cash offer would be. There's no obligation. 855-299-SOLD is a phone number. 855-299-SOLD. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing. .725 Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Then, the weather in Middle Tennessee can get crazy, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter. Now, this is the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. You can get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. The Generator Supercenter does feature expert installation and 24-hour monitoring. Now, they're not going to leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Call them, 615-879-1952. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-879-1952. Their website, GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com. That's GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com. #727, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jeff, I went ahead and I texted you that article that we were talking about in the break.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. A lot of stuff going on. Joan, would you ever drive a Tesla if you could afford it, just to be, in solidarity with Elon Musk? Have you seen those? They almost look like space cars. The Cybertrucks,
The
I think you call them.
Cybertruck, yeah.
Are those?
I mean, they're pretty funky.
Are those either hideously cool or hideously weird? And I haven't made the decision as to which one. Riker calls them something like spaceships or something.
Yeah, well, that's what it looks like.
It does. It looks like a spaceship.
Yeah.
And you know what it really does look like? And I don't know if he meant to do this, but it looks like the car in Back to the Future.
Yeah, it does.
Like is it DeLorean? Is that what they are?
Yes.
So I don't know how cool these cars are. I've never driven one, a Tesla.
I have a friend whose husband is a dentist, and they bought 2 Teslas.
Really?
But I know that they're not conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to find a way to couch the question, kindly. Like, did you ditch your cars now?
Do you know what you do? You do what conservatives do to me sometimes.
Yeah.
And you call yourself a conservative, right? So you ought to say to him, you call yourself a progressive.
Yeah.
How dare you drive this Elon Musk mobile? You know what I mean?
I don't know if I want to do that. I just want to know if they still have their...
You know what? Here's what you tell him. You tell him, I'd be glad to take that off your hands.
Oh, there you go.
That's what you got to do.
Okay.
It would make sense to me.
Yeah.
You think, how long do you think Elon's going to be within the Trump administration? Do you think his time may be coming to a close because he does have to concentrate on his rockets? I believe that he has done incredible work in a short amount of time, absolutely turned Washington, D.C. on its head. And I love it. But do you think he's going to go back and focus on Elon things now moving forward?
After the 180 days? Because he's a special government employee.
Right.
He has 180 days to work without pay, obviously, to do the job that he is set to do before he's not allowed to do it anymore. I think he's going to stick it out that 180 days.
Okay.
Damage is done now. What's he going to do? Back out now?
That's a great
Why
point.
bother?
That's a great point. And listen, if you're one of the hate listeners and you're a progressive and you're angry at Elon Musk and you drive a Tesla, I would very much love to just go ahead and take that off your hands. I'll give you my phone number. You can text me and we'll just arrange a place.
Make one of those receipts for $1.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Got a lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is now 7:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Watch it in Antioch this morning. Old Hickory Boulevard east of Saddle Creek Way. A crash there right in front of the Lux View. I think that's an apartment building complex. Anyway, there's a traffic accident, and it's causing quite a backup this morning, and it's been there for quite a while. The Department of Government Efficiency now going through Social Security records, including the names, birth dates, and earnings. It's part of an anti-fraud effort by the Trump administration. ABC's Ann Flaherty covers health care.
This acting Social Security administrator says, we know that these Doge kids, his words, not mine, that they're going to make mistakes, but that we have to let them see what's inside because there probably is fraud and they can get at it. But there are inspectors general that work inside of Social Security, and that's all they do is try to look for fraud.
It's not clear then why those inspectors general didn't catch the payments made to people more than 150 years old that President Trump and Elon Musk have repeatedly talked about. In Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a small plane crashed into the parking lot of a retirement home shortly after takeoff yesterday afternoon. No one on the ground was injured, but 12 cars did catch fire.
5 passengers were on board. All 5 passengers were transported by local EMS agencies to local hospitals for treatment.
Manheim Township Fire Chief Scott Little there. The pilot had reported an open door on the plane and requested to return to the airport. But so far, no official cause of that crash. TBI has added a Gallatin man to their most wanted list. His name is Little Page Drake III, and police say he should be considered armed and dangerous.
He's wanted in the death of a woman that was shot and killed inside of a Gallatin home Thursday morning. Police are telling us this was a domestic situation. There is now a $2,500 reward on the table for information leading to an arrest.
That's Channel 4's Alexandria Adams. We've got stock futures sharply down this morning. We've got Dow futures minus 457, NASDAQ futures losing 308. The S&P futures, they're down 74. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Tony is, of course, my friend from Cabinet Solutions. Tony, always great to have you on. All right, so I was down at your open house weekend before last. From what I could tell, it was a great success. But also the great success is that the big sale that you had for March is still going on.
It is. I still have the 15% off, and I'm adding something, Dan. If they want to come in and make an appointment this month, I'm going to say, look, you can have 15% off, or I'll give you interest-free financing.
Interest-free? That's huge. Interest-free financing. No kidding. Okay.
Yeah, it is. You know, and as we've talked about before, we've got cabinets for the whole house, not just kitchen and bath, but we've got closets, garage cabinets, outdoor cabinets, anything you need.
Mm-hmm. And you guys have cabinets for you name the budget, you name the style, variety in not only pricing for any budget, but also whatever decor you're going for, you guys have the style, right?
We do. We've got every kind of color and style that you can imagine. 15 brands in our showroom that they can look at.
And here's a great thing. You guys, of course, we talked about this off the air, but you guys are going to help me redo Riker's bathroom. That is a tough lift. I'm not going to lie. That is a tough lift. So I'm looking forward to you guys putting in some cabinets in Riker's bathroom. It's our one part of our house that we have yet to redo.
Well, your house is beautiful, and we are going to fix that thing up. Matter of fact, I'll have somebody there this week to do the final measurements, and we'll get this project rolling.
All right. Now, is there a phone number you want to give, or do you want to stick to the website of mycabinetsolutions.com?
I believe mycabinetsolution.com is the best way. They can go there and fill out a contact form. That form will come directly to me, and I will get them in touch with the designer that they need to talk to.
All right, Tony, as always, thank you very much. Have a great Monday, and we'll return next on WTN. 7:37, Dan Mandis here. It is spring rebate madness at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Listen to these rebates. Busy Bee always looking to save you money. A mini split 17 SEER or a heat pump 17 SEER, $800 rebate from Busy Bee. Heat pumps 15 and 16 SEER, $500 rebate. Duct sealing or repair, a $300 rebate. So many ways to save with my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. I've been a Beehive member for years, and you get a $50 rebate on your spring and fall tune-up today. That means that you've already saved enough money to pay for the Beehive membership for the year. They'll even file those rebates for you so you don't have to. That's why you need to join the Beehive Club today. There's a ton of other benefits when you join the Beehive Club. Find them online at their website, busybeehvac.com. busybeehvac.com, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
It's an accident on Old Hickory Boulevard east of Saddle Creek Way that's causing some problems in Antioch this morning. Got another one on the left shoulder of I-40 westbound at Spence Lane, White Bridge Pike at Charlotte Pike. Watch for a crash there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How are you, friends? How are you? Happy Day with Less Sleep Day.
That was eloquent.
It really wasn't, actually. I tried, but I didn't have it written down in front of me, so whatever.
Right.
Hey, like us on YouTube if you would, and check out the Daily Dan poll. Today's poll: Tennessee is considering raising the interest cap on payday loans. Now, if you missed it earlier, KGB, let's make sure that we podcast not only my monologue on that, because I did a big long monologue on it, but also I took a whole bunch of calls, really, really good calls. And from what I can tell, nobody or very few people like this idea of, these places that are called predatory, and they give loans to people who are desperate. They don't have any credit. So if this bill passes, it's already passed the Senate. It could pass the House. It'll more than likely be signed by the governor. But if you borrow like $1,000 till payday, well, then if this bill goes through, then you're going to be paying now, instead of 36% interest. And so that's going to be like, and we're not even talking about the fees as well, because the fees are really terrible too. So these are predatory. And a lot of people, a lot of good conservatives that listen to this radio station, and I think overall, I think of all the calls that I took, I had 2 people that said that it was okay, but all the other people said no way. And if you checked out the super text line this morning, I don't know, I have not really seen one person that gives a full-throated thumbs up to allowing these places to raise the interest rate and the fees. It's an exorbitant amount of money. And so they do prey on people that don't have a lot of money, don't have credit. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people that would have no place to go. They would be screwed. I mean, I had a guy that called up because I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. And I had one guy that said, I've been to these places a number of different times, and they wipe out your credit, and it's really tough to pay back. But then my question was, okay, but what would have happened if you couldn't go to that particular, loan till payday kind of place? And he said, I would have been screwed. So go take the Daily Dan poll, and we'll be sure and podcast that, because I enjoyed that segment immensely. I love talking to you folks. 7:41, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. It is it's Monday. President Trump gave a great interview to Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, and he was talking about tariffs. Remember what he wants to do. He wants to tariff Canada. He wants to tariff Mexico, both at 25%. He did put a pause. He did put a pause on those last week.
Why did you roll back or put a pause into some of the tariffs until April 2nd?
Because I wanted to help Mexico and Canada to a certain extent. We're a big, big country, and they do a lot of their business with us, whereas In our case, it's much less significant. We do very little with Canada by comparison. And I wanted to help the American car makers until April 2nd. April 2nd, it becomes all reciprocal. What they charge us, we charge them.
Yep. And part of what the president's ire has been is that Canada, they're charging us some pretty healthy tariffs, and President Trump is tired of it. So apparently, though, he had a great discussion with the leader of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, stating this. This is the quote. After speaking with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico, I have agreed that Mexico will not be required to pay tariffs on anything that falls under the USMCA agreement. President Trump wrote, referring to the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, he characterized the move as an accommodation for the Mexican leader. He says, our relationship has been a very good one, and we are working hard together on the border, both in terms of stopping illegal aliens from entering the United States and likewise stopping fentanyl. Thank you to President Sheinbaum, he says, for your hard work and cooperation. So coming from, because remember, we are a massive trading partner for both Canada and for Mexico. Them for us, not so much. So we are far more important to Canada and Mexico than they are to us. And that's important to understand. But coming from Mexico, we imported $45 billion worth of vegetables, fruit, beer, all kinds of other stuff from Mexico. And so basically, those tariffs are off the table for now. For now. We'll have to see ultimately what happens. About 50% of our imports from Mexico are covered from the USMCA. Canada, not so lucky. Canada last year, only 38% of imports from Canada were covered by the USMCA, and Canadian energy is not included, which means that they will be tariffed heavily. And some say that that will increase our gas prices here in America. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But, you know, part of what is impacting businesses in the market is the on and off again dialogue regarding tariffs. Because for a lot of folks, when you look at all of this, what we know about the markets is that they don't like uncertainty. That's what they don't like. That's why you never really know what's going to happen with a new president, with a new Congress, et cetera, because that uncertainty actually breeds, you know, things like sell-offs and so forth. And this is part of what the president said.
Can you give us a sense of whether or not we are going to get clarity for the business community?
Well, I think so. But, you know, the tariffs could go up as time goes by, and they may go up. And, you know, I don't know if it's predictability. I think
so that's not clarity?
No, I think that they say that. You know, it sounds good to say. But for years, the globalists, the big globalists, have been ripping off the United States. They've been taking money away from the United States. And all we're doing is getting some of it back. And we're going to treat our country fairly. We're not going to let people take advantage of us anymore. You know?
Right. And listen, the instability of all of this does have its impacts. And I think that we're seeing that. But the question is, short-term pain, long-term gain. That is what the president has been talking about. We've got a lot more straight ahead, 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather today, a high of 65 and sunny. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. 38 degrees. So talking about the tariffs, what impact they may have on the economy as a whole. Number one, it almost feels like a moot point to even talk about it because we don't really know what the president's going to do. He has postponed these until April 2nd. So we'll be having the same conversation as we head into April in about 3 weeks or so. But here's the thing, is that Trump has talked about the 25% tariffs with Canada and also with Mexico. He used, and a lot of people aren't buying the president's excuse that it's because of the lack of help from these nations, especially Mexico, regarding the illegal immigration and the fentanyl coming across our southern border. Most people that are experts, and I'm air quoting this, experts will say, well, that's a feeble excuse. He just wants a better deal. What's wrong with wanting a better deal? There's nothing wrong with wanting a better deal. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told CNBC over the weekend, this is actually all about fairness.
And what we are trying to do is make free trade fair trade, because the trading systems have become incredibly imbalanced. You see it with these the trade deficits that we run. You see it with the big surpluses that other countries are accumulating. So we're looking at tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers, currency manipulation, government subsidies, and in the EU, some of these gigantic fines that they're putting on our tech companies just because they see a big pool of capital. And we're going to push back on those. And at the end of the day, President Trump's been saying tariff is his favorite word. I think reciprocal may be his second favorite word.
Yeah, and when you look at Europe and how they tariff us, I mean, we're talking about tariffs that are about 20% when we send our agricultural goods to Europe. Fruits are tariffed at about 12%. Industrial products are at 4%. Some tech components are around 7%. Cars made in America, exported into Europe, those are at a 10% tariff. So the bottom line is either Trump is going to impose those 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico come April. There'll eventually be reciprocal tariffs across the board, meaning if we are charged a 10% tariff, then they're going to be charged the same. What impact that may have on the economy is anybody's guess. There's all of these dire predictions, and I know I've been saying this for a minute. There's all these dire predictions of what Trump's tariffs are going to do. Nobody really knows what they're going to do because we have not seen this before to this extent in our current economy. But remember, in leading up into 2016 and when Trump was elected president, you had all these people that were saying, including Hillary and the Democrats, they were saying that our economy was going to be toast. And it wasn't until COVID came along. So prices may go up on some things, but overall, this is how Trump is going to frame it. We'll have more manufacturing jobs. We've already seen those numbers go up. We'll have more money coming in via those tariffs. We'll have more investment in America. We're already seeing that with Apple and these other companies that are opening up manufacturing hubs here to avoid Donald Trump's tariffs. And yes, I just told you in the news today, we've got Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and he's saying we are canceling a ton of what is going on, what is being paid for through USAID, because it was all a bunch of BS. So we're saving a bunch of money with Doge as well. And yes, the Trump tax cuts are going to be extended as well. So we'll see what happens with the tariffs and their impact. Wall Street Journal, by the way, just to let you know that I'm being fair, the Wall Street Journal has some dire predictions. I'm going to give that to you coming up next, along with a few other things. It is 7:50 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. Joan, what's coming up?
Well, the start of the Wall Street trading is about an hour, a half hour, maybe 40 minutes away. 40 minutes away here, and we're looking at some steep losses. We'll take a look at how President Trump's words are affecting the stock market this morning and some of the data points that are about to come out this week. That's coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 7:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My friends at Stoltzko, they build amazing pole barns. Listen, if you've got a piece of land, maybe some property that you don't know what to do with, put up a pole barn from Stoltzko, man. Check them out online. Check them out on the socials as well. Putting up that pole barn from Stoltzko could increase the value of your land big time, and you can use it as a garage, an event space, an equestrian building. You can just live in it. The thing is, pole barns from Stoltzko, they are flexible, and yes, they are built really well. You could also, by the way, plan ahead and build your retirement home. So call these folks today. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-622-5992. 615-622-5992. You can also find them on Instagram and Facebook as well, or at their website, Stoltzco, Stoltzco.com. 7:56. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 89.7 WTN. To tariff or not to tariff? That seems to be the question. People are saying that Trump is losing his nerve on the whole tariff thing because he keeps postponing it because I think he's postponed it, what, Joan, a couple of times now? That he has.
It's been so back and forth. It's almost hard to keep track. You need a scorecard.
You do need a scorecard. But people are saying that Trump is losing his nerve. I don't think that Trump is losing his nerve. I think that what Trump is doing is he's trying to negotiate the best deal for America. And there's nothing wrong with that. The question is it going to work? And how confident is the president in all of this? Because, listen, we will get more of those manufacturing jobs, more money coming in via the tariffs and a bunch of other things. Some people, though, say, well, Trump is raising taxes. It depends on if the companies or the countries, if they absorb the costs, then no, that will not go back to the American people. But if the companies that are importing those goods or the cars or whatever it is, if they're forced to pay the 25%, well, then that will be passed along to the consumer. So I guess it just depends. But I think that most people understand what the president is trying to do. Short-term pain, long-term gain. And for me, I get it. But ultimately, it does seem like this is going to be the hill that Donald Trump dies on, the tariffs. And on the one hand, you got to admit, okay, well, you know what? He's got a lot of testicular fortitude, the president does. If this is the hill that he's going to die on, there really is. I mean, there really is no precedent as far as this amount of tariffs with our economy the way that it is right now in 2025. There is no precedent. So this is either going to be really, really good, and as President Trump says, it's going to make us all rich, or it's going to be an unmitigated disaster. I hope it makes us all rich, or at least it makes America rich. But I don't know what it's going to do. And I would love to sit here and be like the all-knowing, always right talk show host. I don't know what's going to happen. I have confidence in Donald Trump. I do. And here's the other thing, is that there's so many people out there that had nothing to say, and I'm going to keep talking about this. There's so many people that had nothing to say when Joe Biden was completely train-wrecking our economy. Nothing to say at all. Yet now they're hyperventilating and going after Donald Trump. Wall Street Journal, by the way, and others, dire predictions. They say even U.S. automakers have parts that are imported from other countries, which means that if those parts are made elsewhere, but U.S. automakers have to buy them from other countries, then they'll have to pay those tariffs, and that would lead to higher prices. Again, the reality is nobody knows what's going to happen. Donald Trump believes that he knows. It's going to make us rich as a nation, and it's going to be a lot more fair and equitable. We'll have to see what happens. It's 8 o'clock on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. It is 8 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Still working that crash scene in Antioch. It's on Old Hickory Boulevard, east of Saddle Creek Way. An East Nashville woman was seriously injured by a bullet that entered her bedroom through the outside wall as a drive-by shooting was taking place in her neighborhood.
She managed to call 911, but they had to break through a window to get to her. Right now, she is in the hospital with serious injuries, and neighbors say that they heard multiple gunshots, then squealing tires as a car sped off.
That's Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac. In Murfreesboro, somebody was caught on camera breaking into a smoke shop located on the downtown public square. The robber there throwing a rock and shattering the front window to gain access. He then stole a number of items and a box of cash before driving off in a silver mid-sized SUV. Nashville police have lost one of their own. Precinct Commander Anthony McLean has died after having a heart attack at his desk last month. McLean had been on the force for 27 years. He was 53 years old. McLean died of complications related to that heart attack. President Trump on Maria Bartiromo's Sunday show that's saying that his tariffs against Canada and Mexico may go even higher than the 25% set to go into effect next month. At least one group thinks that's okay.
Democrats slamming Trump's trade policy. But Sean Fain, the president of the United Auto Workers Union, praising Trump's tariffs for bringing jobs in manufacturing back to the U.S.
Tariffs are an attempt to stop the bleeding from the hemorrhaging of jobs in America for the last 33 years.
Trump officials admit his policies could impact prices.
ABC's Selena Wang reporting. Meantime, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick confirming on NBC's Meet the Press that Trump's promised 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports will go into effect Wednesday. Tariffs on Canadian dairy and lumber products start April 2nd. A crowd of pro-Ukraine protesters spotted J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance, out for a walk with his 3-year-old daughter yesterday and began to heckle him and shout at his daughter. This CNN reporter says that Vance agreed to answer the protesters' questions if they backed off from his child.
If I talk to you for a few minutes, will you leave my 3-year-old daughter alone? And you said yes. So I'd like you guys to respect that.
Afterwards, J.D. Vance took to X, saying it was mostly a respectful conversation. But if you're chasing a 3-year-old as part of a political protest, you're a shit person.
Last weekend, protesters heckled him and his family while on a ski trip in Vermont. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We're in for quite a start on Wall Street this morning. Dow futures minus 457. We've got NASDAQ futures down 323 right now. S&P futures, they're minus 77. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Out at the airport this morning, Murfreesboro Pike at Donaldson Pike. Watch for a crash involving some injuries. Also this morning, a crash at White Bridge Pike at Charlotte Pike and White Bridge. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Welcome on into a Monday, March 10th. Hope you're doing well. A special 30 minutes here on this hour of Nashville's Morning News. You know Tim Leeper as our roofing extraordinaire. He is a guy who has been advertising on WTN for some 17 years. But that's only part of what Tim Leeper stands for. Tim is now screaming from the mountaintops, asking for accountability for Tennessee's private prisons after his son passed away in one. So I want to talk about this because, Tim, you and I had coffee on Saturday, and you've got an incredible story. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not a fan of private prisons. So your story really had an impact on me. So talk a little bit about the journey of your son.
Thank you, Dan. My son, Kylan, was a good kid. You know, we did a lot of normal stuff growing up, grew up in church, coaches ball teams, went on vacation, did cool stuff, had one younger brother, almost 3 years to the day, Colton. They were best friends. And, you know, over time, Kylan began to exhibit trouble in school, and then at some point later in life, even with the intervention of his mother and I, he still landed in the corrections crossfire, if you will. And so that was where we always hoped that it wouldn't go.
And so ultimately he ended up in, because, you know, when you go to, you know, you end up in the correctional system and you kind of bounce around. And he ended up in one of these prisons run by Core Civic. And he was a young adult, and he was very health conscious. He was eating protein out of the commissary, because you can't really eat healthy in the, as you say, the slop that they have in the Core Civic prisons. And very health conscious. And then suddenly you get a phone call that he is overdosed on fentanyl and he's died. And what happened?
So we've spent some time and effort and money in private investigators to find out what truly happened. And we did get the autopsy report back that it was a fentanyl overdose death, but it was a pill form. So it wasn't anything that you would take illicitly. You wouldn't, you know, shoot it or, you know, snort it or anything like that. It's just, it was a pill form. And so he took that, which was very confusing to us, because as parents, every day of our lives when we talked to him was spent planning for the future. He had a young son that was born while he was incarcerated, and that son, who also shares his name, Kylan, now doesn't have a dad, and it was just a head scratcher. And so it was not only incredibly debilitating to try to, you know, pick yourself up and move on and plan a funeral, but also now we have this other person that we have to care for. And so what we found out from our investigation was that the drugs were being brought in by the staff, and that's a problem for me.
Well, it should be a problem for everyone. And there was, just so folks know, talk real quick about the difference between a Tennessee-run prison and a private prison.
Sure. Tennessee-run prison, TDOC facilities, there are 10 in the state of Tennessee, and they're managed and operated by TDOC employees. To work there, you have to go through a 6 weeks correction academy, which is down, I believe, in Tullahoma, and it's taught by, you know, drill instructors. It's taught by people who know what they're doing. And for Core Civic, there's a series of classes that you need to take to be hired. And so the difference between the private and the public prison is, some years ago we had an incarceration issue and we needed population control. And so private prisons came on the scene in Tennessee with CCA, now Core Civic, rebranded, and they began to take bed space for the state of Tennessee, and they would charge per inmate per day. And what we have found over the years is a private prison has a for-profit model. Yeah. And so the more they can save and the less they spend on services, the more profitable they are. I know that last year I want to say one of the most recent years, they were about $1.9 billion industry with $188 million in net profit, while the state TDOC facilities are much safer. You have a way less chance of being killed in a state facility versus a private facility.
Well, when you have a for-profit model, then cutting down on guards, cutting down on security, you have fewer guards per inmate than in a state-run facility. And as a matter of fact, there was a Department of Justice, I think it's still going on, the Department of Justice had actually opened an investigation into CoreCivic's Trousdale County Prison. So, and what they're finding is what you're describing, not good. And part of this has to be, what are prisons for? Are they to try to rehabilitate people, or are they here to punish folks? And I'm of the opinion that they should be here to rehabilitate folks, to make sure that when they get out, they have a path. And is it your contention that these CoreCivic-run private prisons, for-profit prisons, don't do that?
Well, they really don't have the funds and the resources to do that, because they funnel it all towards profit margin, and they funnel it all towards their shareholders. There's no college courses. From the statistical analysis that Commissioner Strada put forth last year, I didn't see any college courses that they had at any of the 4 CoreCivic locations here in Tennessee. So there's not a lot of rehabilitative opportunities there. What I have found and what I sense is that if somebody goes in for a 10-year sentence, I would like for them to take that time, have an intake process where you go in and we figure out why we're here, right? So do a full psychological evaluation. Then from that evaluation, we develop a plan. The plan basically is going to say, for the time that you're here, we're going to work on impulse control. We're going to work on behavioral management, cognitive behavioral therapy. We're going to work on substance abuse issues. We're going to create programs to give you the best chance of being successful, so that we return a better version of you than we took in an intake process. And if those things would happen, there's generational changes that could come from this. Think about this. Think about the inmate that's been incarcerated 3 or 4 times, served 10, 15 years of his life in prison, and yet all of a sudden, the last time he went in, he has opportunities to make changes to his life. He gets out, and now his nephews begin to see, his children begin to see, his mother begins to see, and all of a sudden they're asking, what happened? What is different with him? And there's a purpose for rehabilitation. We just need to tap into it.
Tim Leeper joining us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yes, his name sounds familiar. He advertises on the station, but you're here to talk about something far deeper, and you want to make a change because of what happened to your son, Kylan. And I think that this is a serious conversation that needs to take place, because for-profit prisons, from what I can tell from the Department of Justice, is saying in their investigation into these prisons here in Tennessee, is that they're not good for anyone. They're not good for the prisoners. If you want to rehabilitate these folks, it is just not happening. As a matter of fact, people are dying in these prisons far more in the private prisons than in the Tennessee-run prisons, right?
That's correct. Last year in Trousdale alone, there were 28 deaths, and that's according to Commissioner Strada's report that he puts out every year. So there are 28 deaths. That's over 2 a month. To me, I don't know why red flags aren't going up everywhere we look. Now compare that to the maximum security facility at Riverbend, where we house death row inmates. They had 1 fatality last year. That's insane. That's incredible that we allow this level of carnage, and from somebody who's a subcontractor and supposed to be under our authority under the TDOC. We control that contract, and we can pull back. And I hear a lot about fines. Well, fines aren't working. Fines are built into their contract, their business model. And so if I have a contract for $244 million, as CoreCivic does with the state of Tennessee, and I can get $234 million, well, in my mind, that's better than no $1 million. And so we just cook it into the recipe here. And if we get, $234 million, it's a good year.
8:16, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. So you're working with some state lawmakers to try and effect some change. We're going to talk about that straight ahead. It is 8:16. Time to check the roads on WTN.
At BNA Murfreesboro Pike, we've got an accident at Donaldson Pike. Watch for emergency crews on the scene. White Bridge Pike, there's an accident at Charlotte Pike. No problems coming in on 40 or 65. No unusual delays on 24 or 440. I'm Christy O'Brien.
Weather today, a high of 65 and sunny. Appreciate you listening to WTN. Tim Leeper joining us. So let me ask you, Tim, why is it? Because, I mean, you are like, shoulder deep in all of this now because of what you're trying to do, working with the state legislature to bring some accountability for these private prisons. We're going to get into that. But as you speak to all of these lawmakers, why do we use these private prisons? Why don't we just have all of our prisons run by the state of Tennessee where prisoners are much more likely, it seems, to, number one, be able to survive, and number two, be rehabilitated versus just being punished?
Well, they preface it with population control, prison population management. At this point, there was a time that probably was important, but I look at a problem from an entrepreneurial perspective, from a business perspective. And obviously, government and business work on two different realms, right? And so if I see a problem in my business, I go in and I fix it. If I see somebody is not getting the communication they need, I go and talk to my production manager, and I said from here moving forward, we call these people 2 days before we start a job. We talk about all the things that need to come up, and then we don't hand that off to anybody. You handle it personally. That's how I handle things, and the problem gets solved. And so I'm very results-oriented. In this case, there probably was a time that we needed the bed space. We didn't have enough prison space if we're going to continue to incarcerate at the level that we are in this state. So if we don't have the bed space, there was a time that we needed them. But at this point, there's a possibility that we could divest out of private prisons. And I know that maybe people, may think that that's too high a hurdle to clear. But guess what? Lease the facility back from Core Civic. What do you think they're going to do? Tear it down?
So what is it you want to do with this legislation? You're working with Senator Mark Pody, State Senator Mark Pody, and the name escapes me who you're working with in the House.
Clark Boyd. So what is it that you're asking them to do as far as this legislation? What do you want? So the bill came out originally, and it was going to lower the designation from a medium security to a low security prison. And that allows us to pull off some of the violent inmates that are in there and only leave low classification inmates and bring in low classification inmates from other places, so that if we don't have the same issues, maybe we will have a better result with the death toll. And the goal would be that after a 1-year wraparound that we go back and have an accountability measure in there where we say, okay, if the death rate is not down to a equal level to a TDOC size facility, then, we put you on a shorter probationary period, in which case we, could at this point take the prison back over. I don't know if that's going to pass in committee, if it's not going to pass in the subcommittee. But what I do know is it's a problem that we need to be talking about, because if this had happened in a local county jail, and, for example, in 2024, from January to November, there's allegedly 16 overdose deaths in one facility. That's insane.
How is it getting in?
It's getting in from the staff. I know that because I have eyewitnesses and I have people who are ready and willing to testify to that.
That's horrifying. I mean, these are people that are being paid for, well, if it's Core Civic, who pays them? If it's a Core Civic employee, then they're getting paid through the arrangement with the state, right? So,
from what I understand, Core Civic just pays their employees. It's like a subcontract agreement.
Yes,
I would
that's
pay
what it is.
my crew, but I would get paid from the company, which is the state of Tennessee.
All right, so coming up, I want to talk about the roadblocks that you're finding and what has surprised you about this journey that you've been on over the last, how many years has it been?
He passed in October of 23, so just under 17 months.
So 17 months, it's heartbreaking and incredible journey that you've been on. We're going to talk a little bit more with Tim Leeper coming up. It is 8:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones has the news at 8:30. Hey, Joan.
Yeah, a drive-by shooting in East Nashville, and a woman sleeping in her bed was struck. We'll also take a peek at stocks just after the opening bell at 8:30 this morning. Brace yourselves. Those stories and more coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, Joan, 8:21 on Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here. Spring cleaning time, and Zero Res is offering a great way to get your carpets clean and save you money. Now, I've been using these folks for years because they don't use harsh chemicals and soaps, just powered water. And that means pure safety for your family and your pets. Now, think about the last few months of snow and all of that rain and all of that stuff, that dirt, the grime, the bacteria that has all been tracked into your home. You need a carpet cleaning company that can safely get your carpets clean. Now, not only does Zero Res have the highest approval rating from the Mighty Carpet and Rug Institute, but Zero Res is rated the #1 cleaning system in the nation by an independent testing laboratory. When they clean, friends, there's nothing left behind. Now, they've got great reviews on both Google and Facebook, and, of course, from the Mandis household as well. Now, right now, they've got a great deal going on for the month of March. 2 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109, 25% off of area rugs as well. I'm going to repeat that because it's a great deal. 2 rooms of carpets cleaned for $109, 25% off of area rugs. Restrictions may apply. Call them, tell them you want the Dan deal. 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. Online anytime, ZeroResNashville.com. That's ZeroResNashville.com. So call them 866-90-NATION for your fast, free estimate. 866-90-NATION, windownation.com. 825, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. Now, I've been telling you for years about United Structural Systems. Now, they are experts in waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. Now, this is a great company. They've helped me several times with my home, and that's why I proudly endorse United Structural Systems. But I am just one of 30,000 satisfied customers. And listen to this recent review on Google. Guy says that USS, they were highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish. And he says they treated his home as if they were working on their own. He gives United Structural Systems 5 stars all the way. They've done 2 projects for me. They were great. Now, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you won't pay a dime until the work is done and you are a satisfied customer. Now, they can help you with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair. We guarantee our best. Call us, USS, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com. $8:27, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Welcome on in. Tim Leeper is joining us. You know him as the guy that advertises on WTN. 17 years. You are our roofing czar. However, you have a much more important mission right now. And if you're just joining us, go back and listen to the podcast. But you are looking after your son died in a for-profit prison, a core civic prison here in the state of Tennessee. You have been on a journey for the last 17 months to try to get some legislation passed to bring some accountability for these private prisons. Talk about what exactly it is that this legislation will do that you're working with state lawmakers on.
Well, the goal is to drop the designation from medium to a minimum security prison, and then have some accountability factored into the back end of that. To bring your death rates down to a similar size TDOC facility, and then also as a probationary period, begin to post your deaths on the TDOC website. One of the things about a private prison is it's shrouded in secrecy. It's so difficult to get anything out of it. And I have found after TDOC record requests that a lot of times they'll tell you, well, your request is too broad. And so we just can't get information. And even state senators at times have had trouble getting information from these private prisons.
So how do you think this is going to fare in the state legislature?
Well, I hope that they'll hear my story and at least understand, if they're moved or if they're not moved, that doesn't affect me. What affects me is that we do something about it. And so if we can raise the flag to say, hey, we have a problem, we have to fix this problem, and we're remiss if we do not fix this problem. I heard a lady testify one time in front of one of the committees, and she said, you can say a lot about prisons and private prisons, but after today, you can never again say you did not know.
Mark Pody, state senator, is working with you. He's going to join me at the same time tomorrow. If people want to get in touch with you, share a story, share some facts, how can they get in touch with you? Sure.
We have a new Facebook page, Kylan's Light, K-Y-L-A-N-S, Light. And so we're shining the light on the brokenness of the TDOC correction system.
Tim Leeper, thank you for sharing your story, and good luck, and we're going to stay on this. It is 8:30, Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. It's now 8:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A woman was shot while lying in her bed in East Nashville overnight, the victim of a drive-by shooting. This happened after 11 o'clock on True Lane Place, where police said they had to break through a window to rescue her. Dozens of shots have been fired outside the home. That woman was taken to the hospital, is said to be fighting for her life. A Nashville woman who's got a history with the beauty store Sephora has been arrested for stealing. Police say 21-year-old Janiyah Buchanan was caught on camera stealing fragrance kits worth about $500. Buchanan was banned from all Sephora locations just last year for stealing. Now she's in the Davidson County Jail on a $46,000 bond. The Israeli Minister of Energy and Infrastructure said on Sunday that Israel will cut off electricity to Gaza, quote, immediately. ABC's Lama Hassan is at the foreign desk in London.
How much of an effect this will actually have on Gazans? They have had practically no electricity to begin with since the war started. And the reason Israel is doing this is to try to put pressure on Hamas to free the remaining hostages without beginning the negotiations to get to phase 2, which so far hasn't worked.
Money News now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock starting out lower again this morning after President Trump threatened more tariffs to, in his words, make up for the way other countries have been ripping off the U.S. for years. ABC's Rachel Scott.
Just days ago, the markets tumbled when Trump imposed a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico. The president quickly reversing course. Now Trump says he's planning for even more. A 25% tariff on all foreign steel and aluminum will take effect on Wednesday, and vowing to impose what he calls reciprocal tariffs on countries, too.
So the Dow Jones Industrials began here 356 points lower. The NASDAQ has fallen 348 so far. S&P 500 index, that is down 82 points here at the open. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather just ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:32, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. You know, America is full of gun stores, but here in Middle Tennessee, my home for all things two-way is the Glock store. Now, whether it's training or buying or upgrading, you can count on the Glock store. Now, one of the reasons Glocks are the most popular handgun in America is that there's so many custom and performance parts. You've got night sights and competition triggers and red dot optics. By the way, I've got all these on my gun. So there's so many ways to upgrade that firearm, and they can do it at the Glock store for free. And while you wait, there's always a gunsmith on duty. And yes, you heard that right. You buy the parts, they will install them for free while you wait. That is huge. There's a lot of reasons to like the Glock store. Free parts and installation is just one of them. So I know that you're going to find a lot to like about the Glock store, like I have. Minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Shoot270.com. That is shoot270.com or glockstore.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. $8:34, Nashville's Morning News. Guys, if you're feeling tired, motivation just isn't there, maybe some weight gain and muscle loss, well, these could all be signs of low testosterone. And it is time you found out for sure with my friends at Low T Center. Now, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test. And with their on-site lab, you will get your results back immediately. Now, this isn't your typical doctor's office. They simply specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each individual patient. Yes, this is individualized treatment. Now, they've been helping patients for over a decade, and their treatment plans are optimized for each patient, personalized just for you. There's nothing standard about Low T Center. Everything is customized for you. By the way, for current patients, Low T Center offers you a $150 referral credit for each new patient that you refer. And at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center reinventing men's health care.
Well, we've got some delays this morning on 24 heading in. That's just volume delays. But I'm learning here that, let's see, Metro, Nashville Public Schools, Wilson County, Williamson County, they're all on spring break. So volume is down a little bit this morning. Also got an accident. It's at 3rd Avenue at Harrison Street. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.836, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in. It is time for the crisscross with Chris. You look like crap.
Oh, man.
Whoa, what was that?
Shots fired.
Right out to start?
Chris is suffering from what I've been suffering since I tried to sleep last night, and that is you're sleep deprived.
It's the worst. I hate spring forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Spring
awful.
forward is awful. And
Yep.
I was regaling the audience, I'm sure, in the 535, that I woke up at like 10:30. Like I go to bed at like 5-ish. I wake up at 10:30.
It's not good.
And I'm like, why am I awake? And then I tried to go back to sleep and I couldn't. And so basically I'm going on about 4.5, 5 hours of sleep. And I tried to nap at like 2:30 in the morning and I couldn't because my body hates me.
Did you take melatonin?
And now here I am. I can't take melatonin if I do take melatonin. But I can't, if I wake up at 10:30, I can't take melatonin.
No, I'm saying, did you take it before going to sleep at 5?
Yeah, I do.
So it just didn't work.
I always do. It's like, you know what I really need? I need Amy to come up and hit me with a sledgehammer. Oh, that would actually keep me down.
You would be on Jones News Reports the next day.
I want my name on the sledgehammer.
Oh, Jesus.
Nah. Well, this took a dark turn.
Nothing says a good night's sleep like slipping into a coma.
Nothing like two of the women you see every day wanting to kill you.
Yeah, welcome to my life, KGB. Anyway, so moving right along from there. Do you have anything for this, Chris?
I don't, actually.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Just great, guys.
It's going to be awesome. All right, so then.
Okay, are you excited about Thomas Massey to be the lone Republican standing against
Can
the
you imagine?
Oh my gosh, not again.
Do we have to imagine? Do we have to imagine? It's going to happen.
You think he's going to eventually break down and
no?
And you think he's going to stick to his guns?
I think he's sticking to his guns.
What if his phone rings and it's Donald Trump?
I think he's dealt with that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's going to be ready for it.
So, are you Team Massey or are you Team everyone else?
I love Thomas Massey. I understand getting it done so that way you can give the president some wiggle room. Obviously.
That's the thing.
But I love that Massey is the guy that's so principled he's probably going to vote against it anyway.
Yeah, but they can lose one. I think Trump can lose one.
Only one.
Only one. So anybody other than Thomas Massey, you better fall in line, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult because I stand for what Thomas Massey stands for.
Yep.
Like I do. But at the same time, Trump has to be given the tools and the opportunity to do what he does. And so to do that, and people are going to call me a rhino. So the reason why they need to pass this whole thing is so that Trump can do and put the reforms in place that he wants.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Give him some wiggle room. I'm with it. But I think it's going to be hilarious when Massey says no.
Do the old John McCain, thumbs down kind of a thing.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Well, see, now here's the difference, though, is that John McCain, I honestly believe that John McCain voted against Trump because he didn't like Trump.
Yeah.
Thomas Massey is doing it because he is very principled, incredibly principled, perhaps to a fault. That is, maybe an argument we could have at some point, but I don't think you can ever be too principled.
No.
But, in Washington, D.C., you probably can. So I think it's going to be fun.
I'm with it.
Yep.
What was the big story that you saw over the weekend that you couldn't wait to talk about?
Oh, you know what I want to talk about? J.D. Vance in memes.
Oh, those are getting good.
Oh, my goodness gracious. So how do you know when somebody is really making an impact without actually saying it is his memes are everywhere.
I think I told you after the State of the Union, the joint session, to invest in J.D. Vance memes.
You did. We have the proof.
I said buy now on J.D. Vance memes.
But why? Why after the State of the Union?
Just because he was breaking the fourth wall a lot.
You talking about the one a couple of days ago?
Yeah, he was kind of the way he was looking at the camera, the faces that he would make, the thumbs that get him out.
There is something about the faces that J.D. Vance makes.
Yeah.
Because remember and I think everybody, if you spend any time on the internet, you know that he has one meme that is all over the place where he was debating Tim Walz. And I don't know what that.
It's like you break the fourth wall. It's like kind of like what they used to do on The Office.
Yeah, and he's looking right at the camera, and it's like the face is like, I agree, this guy's a dumb A. You know what I mean? Talking about Tim Walz.
Have you seen the ones where someone photoshopped his face on all the presidents? Like there's a picture of him. There's a Photoshop of him on his face on every presidential portrait from one to now.
Yeah, well, it's not surprising, and
That's great.
But what has there been something that has specifically ignited this? Is this sort of like a united effort with the Republican Party or Team J.D. Vance?
I think this is just something organic that happened on the internet that is just snowballed into something much bigger.
There's one where it's got. Have you ever seen the Brady Bunch?
Yeah.
All right. So you know the intro to the Brady Bunch with all the squares. So they have the Brady Bunch, and everybody's got J.D. Vance facial hair. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I think this tells you, okay, I'm going to ask the memologist. Because, you know, you are my official Nashville's Morning News official memologist.
I'm the specialist in mimetic warfare.
Mimetic warfare, that's exactly right.
Yep.
And so does this mean that J.D. Vance has made such an impact that he is almost a shoo-in when Trump retires?
I think we're getting to that level.
Are we getting to that level?
We got to wait and see what happens the next 3 years. But
have you seen how much he's getting heckled everywhere he goes? Last weekend they went to Vermont to go skiing, and his whole family was heckled by skiers.
Yep.
Now this weekend it was just out with a stroll with his kids in Ohio. And the Ukrainian protesters hit him up and started following around his daughter, yelling things, scaring her.
How old is his daughter?
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. When he posted that, people were like, why are you walking your daughter? It's like, because she can't do it on her own.
Yeah.
Like they gave him garbage for saying you walk your daughter instead of walking with your daughter.
His post was, I was walking my 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And
like
I
normal
was harassed
people.
by protesters.
He said, I was walking my 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Like you walk a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sorry. 3-year-olds can never really walk on their own at the moment.
You actually do have to walk your 3-year-old.
You do.
Yes,
you really do.
Yep.
If you don't have them strapped in, they're in the next block before you know it.
At least the people in Vermont that were protesting him were funny. They said JD skis in jeans. Did you see those signs?
He should have ski. He should have put on his jeans.
No, that's a ski culture jab, but it was pretty funny. Who spends their weekend protesting for Ukraine anyway?
Yeah. People who don't have a whole lot to do with their lives.
Yep.
Guys that go there because a girl's there and he wants to date her.
Yep, and childless cat ladies.
Childless cat ladies, that's it.
And the guy's trying to be with those childless cat ladies.
Anyway, so where was he walking his daughter? Was it in Ohio?
In Ohio.
Like where the heck is the Secret Service?
Yeah, it was just in the park.
He was there.
Right?
They were there. They were like at stores or something on a storefronts, were behind him.
He said there's a video. He stopped for 5 minutes to talk to them because he thought maybe if you feed the trolls,
did he stop
they'll
and
pass.
talk to them?
Yep.
See, that's good.
And then there was 5 minutes went by. They're still upset, and he's like, "All right, I gotta go.
See ya."
But he posted on X. He said, "Today, while walking my 3-year-old, a group of Slava Ukraini protesters followed us and shouted as my daughter grew increasingly anxious and scared. I decided to speak with protesters in the hopes that I could trade a few minutes of conversation for them leaving my toddler alone. Nearly all of them agreed. It was a mostly respectful conversation, but if you're chasing a 3-year-old as part of a political protest, you're a bleep person."
All right, so where are we at with leashing children? You want to get the phone lines going? go ahead and just throw down a monologue on how you leash your kids.
Oh, I was very.
People do that at Disneyland.
Well, yeah.
We've never leashed our kids, but
Have you wanted to?
I was very anti-leash until Brooks started wanting to walk, and then you'd be in the parking lot. You'd be like, I now understand.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it, but I understand.
Joan, where are you at with leashing children?
Never and never.
Now,
Just
why-
never.
Now, okay, but give me the rationale. Now, just so we're clear, I am against leashing children. However, like Chris, there have been times. Do you know how many times I've lost Riker?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Do you know that the first, Amy's heard this story 1,000 times because I won't let her forget. One of the first times me, Amy, and Riker went out together, we went to Providence. I forget what store. TJ Maxx. I think it was TJ Maxx. And Amy says, hey, now realize I've been in this relationship at that time for maybe a month. She says, hey, I'm going to go try this on. Can you watch Riker?
Oh, no.
Man.
Oh, no.
I don't know what you call the big things with the circular things with the clothes on them, but
A rack?
A rack.
Yeah.
The round racks. At 3 years old, he is diving underneath every rack he can find, and he's running. And I can't. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, they plotted this. Like they planned this.
Plotted this. Not because he's bored out of his mind shopping with his parents.
Well,
but-
it was just driving me nuts, and so I finally had to start crawling down on the ground, trying to get him out of the. I wanted a leash.
Yeah.
I did. I wanted a leash.
When you have more kids than you have hands, it becomes difficult.
Yep.
I get it. Like,
Especially with
I get it,
twins.
Chris. But
Yeah.
no, I just,
we've never done it.
Yeah.
But I have that one kid who is.
yeah.
He's always moving at top speed, and so I understand why people would want to do
Always
it.
moving it. Hey, did you hear what Al Green said to the Breakfast Club? Do you have this audio?
No, I don't.
So we all know what Al Green did.
He's the
shaking his cane.
angry old man yelling at the sky.
That's exactly right. Well, he says the reason why he was censured and kicked out of Congress was, of course, it's because he's black.
Invidious discrimination in the House of Representatives. I'm a son of the segregated South. The rights that the Constitution recognized for me, my friends and neighbors denied. I had to sit in the back of the bus.
So here's the thing, and I said this earlier. Okay, so you had to sit in the back. It's like 105. So you had to sit in the back of the bus, but you were in like literally the second or the third row of Congress.
Yeah.
So what is the problem?
Yep.
It's like he won't let it go. Clearly, the reason why he was censured and the reason why he was escorted out is because he was screaming at the president and he was threatening people with his cane.
The balcony of the movie, drink from a colored water fountain, and my relatives who committed some crimes were locked up in the bottom of the jail. I know what invidious discrimination looks like. The Klan burned a cross in my yard. I know what it smells like. I was in filthy waiting rooms, and I've been in places where I didn't want to be, and I know what it sounds like. I've been called all kinds of ugly names. So I know invidious discrimination. And when the speaker decided that I would be removed, and then there was this motion, this resolution to censure me, it became obvious to me that I was not being treated as others were. Mm-hmm. And candidly speaking, it is invidious discrimination, harmful discrimination.
So the reason why he wasn't treated the same as everyone else is because nobody was acting the fool.
Yeah, they took their seats.
Right. That's exactly right.
To go back to the Victim Olympics, though, it's like, okay, strong argument. Thank you for bringing up your past. Instead of celebrating how far we've come as a country, let's go all the way back.
Well, and the dumb thing is that I didn't hear the entire interview, but I'm reasonably certain that Charlemagne there didn't say, but you were yelling at the president of the United States and threatening him with a cane.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's smart money.
Of the Victim Olympics, what medal does he get? That's the question.
Probably gets a silver and complains about it.
So that means it's
silver,
technically
but
gold.
He would have won the gold if he wasn't black, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Jasmine Crockett's getting the gold at the moment.
You know what? Does she play victim, or is she just always talking trash?
think she's just like really anti-white.
Like I don't.
Did you see what she said the other day about like illegal immigrants like coming in illegally is not a crime?
Yeah, I have that for today.
Did she say that?
Yep.
Well, she's
she
dumb.
said it wasn't a crime coming in illegally.
And she also
in a full sentence.
Wait, she said that?
Yeah, 100%.
It's not a crime to come into our country illegally, is what she basically said.
Yes.
No, that's her. That's the complete sentence, which is.
Hey, can we just?
My brain explodes.
Let's stop at the win. She had a complete sentence.
Yeah, that's
Which
true.
for Jasmine
That's
Crockett,
true.
let's be honest.
With no cursing. There was no cursing in that.
And there was no cursing.
No,
So
she didn't stick out her tongue.
we should talk. There's there's street Jasmine Crockett. So just so we're clear, I purposely did not run Jasmine Crockett today because I think we've been Crockett drunk the last few days. So I'm tired of hearing her. So
My ears, thank you.
Well, but now Chris has some epic audio, and
I do.
and now I missed it. So doggone it. But I've had it with Jasmine Crockett, but there's street Jasmine, right?
Yes.
And then there's private school Jasmine.
Yeah.
And
This is true. I think it's street jazz.
Street jazz.
Private school Jasmine.
That's exactly right. Oh my goodness gracious.
She went to the Kamala Harris School of knowing your audience.
Boy.
God, please run for governor, Kamala, just for the laughs.
In California?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, they'll elect her.
I know. And
California
then they'll
will
go
elect her 'cause
farther
they're
down.
They're dumb. This is what happens when you.
Well, seeing her melt down that state since we're not in there anymore will be great.
This is what happens though when you smoke a lot of dope, like when California and it's legalized there, is you think Kamala Harris actually makes sense.
Colorado is the same way. Look who they vote for.
It's all the dope smoking out there in California.
It's all the wacky tobacco.
It's all the wacky tobacco.
The devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce. That's exactly.
Yep.
Do you know I was what was I watching?
Take you to the old folks' home.
I was watching something and they actually used the devil's lettuce in this TV show.
Really?
I couldn't believe it. So obviously,
Probably as a joke.
Obviously, I am like JD Vance. I am impacting pop culture.
You are.
That's exactly what it is.
100%. The ripple effect has been massive.
Here's your soup. Go back to the old folks' home, sir.
I think you impact culture more than KGB.
I think I do too.
I don't talk a lot. I'm not allowed to.
Do you know what's the great thing is? I've got 2 letters for KGB. I think we all know what it is.
Yeah.
All right, moving right
Love
along.
you too, buddy.
So, Chris, what's coming up?
Well, we'll talk about the Secret Service shooting an armed man near the White House and why I think it was that 13-year-old DJ Daniel. We'll talk about the pardon for Derek Chauvin. That was a conversation that was happening all weekend long, and I'm going to take some callers on that. Plus, Trump's job surge in the manufacturing sector.
Yeah, that's big. All right, thank you very much. Joan Jones is in the newsroom, the dust-encrusted news corner.
That's the one.
And Joan, you know what we need to do?
What do we need?
We need to crowdfund some Clorox wipes.
Oh, I'd like that a lot.
If we crowdfund some Clorox wipes, like, do you think that'd help the situation there, Joan?
Well, then we can't grow any more dust bunnies. You know, Ken and I like to name them, and
it gets lonely in there without the dust bunnies, doesn't it?
If we say it's for Joan, there's going to be like 1 million of these coming our way. If we say it's for Joan.
This is true. We should apply that to other things. What else do we need?
Yeah, for Joan, we need
There you go.
All right, Joan, what's up?
Try it again. The CDC begins a study on any possible link between vaccines and autism. Also, we've got that shocking display of bad sportsmanship at a high school championship track meet to tell you about. Those stories coming up at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you see the baton beatdown, Chris?
I did see the baton.
Yeah.
Is that not as a guy who used to run track, that was amazing. And the woman just the other runner comes up and just beats the living crap out of her with a baton.
Yep.
Who does that?
I think you're going to have to come and tell the story on the news now.
No, it's okay.
That's your punishment.
No, that's all right. I'm done.
Okay.
By the way, a story that just came down, apparently, LA's mayor has deleted the text messages involving her fire response. So that's another one to watch. 8:54, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now? Maybe even a couple $100,000. If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with my friends at Loan Pronto. Dan Mandis here, and Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home's equity into cold hard cash. So, yes, you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access that cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork and no cumbersome process, no junk fees, and often no appraisal. Listen, the average homeowner right now has over $300,000 in equity. That is your money, and you should use it. Now, one client actually got $150,000 out, paid off all their credit cards, a couple of car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as a day. So act right now with no hard credit pull up front. Find them online at loanpronto.com. That's loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. That website, one more time. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.